attention. I'm running out your mind. Don't know the direction to your side. Got the wrong impression. I thought that we were fine, but now it's turned to ice. So you decide, and I just wait. I don't get you, I don't chase. So you decide, and I'll just save my time. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. 'Cause we came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. It's already broken. I don't wanna talk. I'm already looking for something more. But if you wanna link up, you can hit the line. Call me anytime. So you decide, and I'll just wait. I don't get you, I don't chase. So you decide, and I'll just save my time. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. 'Cause we came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. I heard that you wanna be something. Why you gotta treat me like nothing, yeah? I heard that you wanna be something. You're already talking. I guess we'll never know, but don't say that you're sorry. Don't say that you're sorry, girl. We came almost too close, but don't say that you're sorry. You don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl. Don't leave me on, don't let my phone. Don't leave me on if you don't really want me, girl.
Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold.
Living for diamonds and finding a match. Broken, I'm bummy, but still got some cash. Making it dash when I'm running a pass. Can't calm down, don't know how to relax. Belly the piece, ripping the beat. Killer, killer cam, killer, killer OG. Gunning up cheese, gunning up cheese. Hey, what you want from me?
You and your friends got a party at my place. Just bring all your girls, shawty. I can hardly wait, yeah, I try. No lie, let's get real, like right now, yeah, I try. No lie. God damn it, I'm fucked. Yeah. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold.
Sipping on the bottle, got the next round. Mommy wanna get it, ain't no test ride. Feeling like you lifted with the best right here. Yeah, keep killing the shit. Yeah. Getting cold feet, baby, I'm out. Stepping on my always ready to fall. Call me when you wanna, baby, blow my phone. Hey, say less if you're ready, let go.
You and your friends got a party at my place. Just bring all your girls, shawty. I can hardly wait, yeah, I try. No lie, let's get real, like right now, yeah, I try. No lie. God damn it, I'm fucked. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. tryna find that gold. Got a brand new phone. Tryna find that gold. Got a brand new phone.
Push my buttons, come and let me know. And we'll speed dial and put the time on hold. Glass half empty, but tonight's so full. Just call me up, there's a brand new phone.
Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Tryna find that gold. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. Got a brand new phone. Side on the corner feeling brand new dope. God damn it, I'm fucked.
Breathing like I'm short on air. And every time we reach a new horizon, it's like you don't care. And we're leaving something bare. And in the water I see cold reflections of what's really there. I'm not waiting, no. Our time has come. We're fighting empires and I want to feel the fire again. It's not easy to love when the world is numb. We're fighting empires and we're gonna feel the fire again. Feeling like I can't be there. And all the valleys that we're marching on through, not even aware. It's the darkness that's so hard to see. And I'm asking you to fight. Just about the difficulty breaking free from what's really there. I'm not waiting, no. Our time has come. We're fighting empires and I want to feel the fire again. It's not easy to love when the world is numb. We're fighting empires and we're gonna feel the fire again. I'm not waiting, no. Our time has come. We're fighting empires and I want to feel the fire again. It's not easy to love when the world is numb. We're fighting empires and we're gonna feel the fire again. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth, tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof.
Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I. You wanna know my feelings every time I look in your eyes. Baby, I can feel your energy, it's making me realize everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, everything we've been through makes us strong enough. You and I, you and I.
Welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We're back for our second match in this League of Legends doubleheader today. This time, the opening week of the 2021 Upsurge Premier League in the Baron Division. 16 of the toughest team out there, some collegiate like Boise State, and some high-level amateur like the Broncos appointed tonight. Wild Card Development, the development team for Wild Card Gaming. It's going to be a very tough task for Boise State. See what they're made of against an amateur-level team, not just a collegiate-level team. Joining me once again to call all of the action is Lisa Jolly Mulhouse. And Jolly, first time we'll see Boise State not against a high-level collegiate team like we're used to, but an amateur team, which totally changes the stakes and is going to be very, very tough for Boise State.
And I've seen matches like this before. I love these kinds of things. Idaho Central Credit Union actually has had it's a team that they've been playing with. I think it was Rocket League that I managed to watch them. So these other teams that Boise State has not had the opportunity to play against, do not sleep on these teams. I'm very excited to see how these players jump into playing against collegiate players who have been together for now at least a full season. But I have a feeling we're going to be in for a good set of games here. Another best of 3 again.
Yeah, another best of 3. You see the group here, the Barron Division, thought to be, as some would say, the group of death, the hardest group out there. A good mix of some teams, of course, the ones without the university plugs, the amateur teams, and some very talented schools as well. Bay State, Boise State has seen a lot of, Illinois State, Grandview, so a ton of very, very tough teams for Boise State, and the Broncos going up against a tough one here to start. It is Wild Card Development. We just saw the Broncos take down Wyoming in the CELO. Going to be a very tough test. I think Boise State's definitely going to have to be ready to probably be a bit more serious. I think there was a little bit of fun shenanigans in that series against Wyoming. This is where they really got to make sure they are playing at their highest level, because looking at the rankings for some of these guys for Wild Card Development, they're one of the few times, Jolly, Boise State's the team that may be looking like the underdog here and by quite a large margin in some of these matchups.
And it's interesting to see that because we're so used to this team dominating so consistently, especially with the current roster that Boise State has. And this is a team that we have no exposure to. We have no experience with. So Boise State, going into that last game, Wyoming is a team that has been played a lot. So it is going to be exciting to see some new players, some new names on the board, to see how Boise State handles the exposure to this newer team.
Yeah, you see the roster there for Boise State, as we talked about earlier today. The first time since I personally have started casting for Boise State Esports, the League of Legends team has not had a single roster change on the blue squad from semester to semester. And then you see for Wild Card Development, Portia, Ghastly Cat, Remember, Minyu, and Yassin going to be their competitors. A lot of these players in Master and Grandmaster last season, of course, with it rolling over into the new season. It is not the same rankings for a lot of these players. I know guys like Dean still in Diamond, but it is still very, very early in the season. It's just a matter of time before he gets back to his familiar challenger. Well, new team that we're taking on, Jolly. New job for us as we get a little bit of a break. We're going to go right into the draft. We've got our draft experts, Glovely and Beartail. They're going to take care of all of that. Jolly and I will see you guys when the game 1 starts. But for now, let's start over to our draft specialist for game number 1's draft.
Hello, everybody.
Beartail, you're muted.
Beartail, you're muted on your end there. Okay, we're still not hearing you, but we are getting ready to get into this draft here. Up against Wildcard Development, it's a new season. We are currently playing on patch 11.2. I'm expecting a great game to come out of these teams. Wildcard Development, of course, very high ranked across the board in terms of their individual players. It is going to be the Kane ban for that first ban on the side of Boise State. Kane, of course, a very strong champion with his ability to roam around the map. Does eventually choose to evolve into that assassin or bruiser. We won't be seeing either of those because in this meta, sustain is everything, and Kane is one of those champions who has a lot of it just built into his kit. So it's going to be pushed away. That's one less reason to build Grievous Wounds that Boise State needs to worry about. And Wildcard Development do what most teams typically expect. That is going to be the Rumble banned away. Very powerful champion in the hands of Ascent. Great for that team fighting and the amount of AP damage it brings to a build. But unfortunately, in this scenario, Boise State once more not going to have that available to them. But we kind of expected this, I would say. Gangplank going to be the response on the other side. Actually, a champion used a lot by the top laner of Wildcard Development, according to his solo queue history at least. Great champion for that global presence, but once more not able to assert that in the lane. Wildcard Development now considering their next ban here. A lot of options. We've seen a lot of jungle bans come out against Boise State. And it looks like that is going to be potentially a jungle ban. That could also be a Seraphine because we don't quite have that in our systems yet. We did see a Seraphine played earlier today. We used the Shyvana to cover for it. So currently going to assume that is a Seraphine. It could be a Shyvana. Not 100% sure. One more ban for Boise State before we start getting into the picks. That is going to be Zoe taken off the table. That is one solo queue mid laner I don't like dealing with. We are now getting into the final ban here for Wildcard Development. We'll see exactly what it is they have to bring to the table. I'm getting confirmation that it is in fact Seraphine. That's going to be Graves, final jungler banned away. Nita proving that that's a champion he's very comfortable on. Very great wave clear. A lot of damage, and I think in the current meta, he's also got quite a few options to get that damage out for his team. So first pick over to the side of Boise State in the blue. And it's going to be the Kai'Sa. This has been a very contested pick tonight. Very powerful champion. Really loves that Kraken Slayer and the passive, so can absolutely rip through your tanks. Definitely a champion you have to watch out for if you want to build, say, something like Leona or, as we saw the last game, Trundle. So another potentially deadly pick up on the board. Resh is going to be the answer, and this is one Wildcard likes. Taking that away from Dean as well. So great champion in terms of being able to engage in fights, and of course, providing crowd control to proc the Kai'Sa passive. Working alongside him is Lucian, one of his nemesis. Lucian, definitely an early game bully, able to stand at the Kai'Sa early on. Doesn't have quite the same scaling though, so that is something that they're going to have to watch out for on the side of Wildcard Development. However, it is going to give them a very strong early game presence, especially with that Thresh. So that's something that they are going to have to watch out for. Galio going to be locked in. We've seen Zed play it fantastically in that mid lane. Dealt a lot of damage in our previous match up against Wyoming. We are now getting into a... that champion is going to be able to roll very hard from side to side. Does have the potential to go into the support role or into that top lane, but personally I think that mid lane is favorable for it. And with the jungle pickup, that is going to be Kindred. Does provide her team, their team, with a great ability to keep them all alive, even in the face of, say, some sort of huge AoE burst. Not a champion I personally like to see this early in the draft. I usually like to use it as a counter pick myself. But we are going to see it at this point. Boise State maybe feeling like they have a good sense as to what they're going to be up against, and that's Gragas, and that is one of the reasons why I don't like to have the Kindred early on. Gragas, that ultimate, going to be able to push everyone inside of her ultimate outside, deny them the healing and the death prevention that they would otherwise have. Also a very tanky champion, strong engagement. If you want to, you can also build that in sort of an AP build as a bruisery kind of build. We've seen that recently. We saw that today. Syndra going to be the pickup there, or pardon, ban away for Wildcard Development, getting that champion off the table. I personally don't think Syndra is very strong in this current season, but of course, very versatile champion. A lot of players have picked her up in previous seasons, don't know the champion very well. Does have the ability to steal away buffs, so it's possible they're looking at stealing her away. For the jungle invades, Olaf going to be taken off the table, an absolute monster in the current season. Very much a beneficiary of the changes to the healing and the amount of healing and sustain that is in League of Legends, especially with that new Gore Drinker item. So with Olaf being taken off the table, very strong pick being denied from the side of Wildcard Development. They have one more ban that they can leverage against Boise State, and it's going to be the Victor. We saw that Victor in the previous game, very strong mid-game power spike. He's gotten much stronger thanks to the new preseason where they changed the way that his passive works. So he is going to be, he is a very threatening force, but he's going to be taken off the field. Boise State now, one more champion remaining. who is going to be their final ban. They have quite a few options. It's going to be Hecarim, another jungler taken off the field. High mobility, great engage. Not something that Boise State wants to deal with, especially not when they're already dealing with that Gragas. Are they perhaps predicting that Gragas is going to go into the top lane? Because they did just ban away 2 jungle champions. While Gragas normally considered to be a fairly strong jungler, and that's where we've seen him thus far. Of course, versatile champion. It's going to be Lilia, so they are in fact smartly assuming that the Gragas is going to go into that top lane. Lilia going to be picked away there for that jungle. With the Graves off the field, she doesn't have a really hard early game champion. It's going to have a relatively easy time farming up against the Kindred, who also relatively slow farmer. So something for both of them to pay attention to as to who's going after the marks that Kindred lays down. That's going to give them some extra information to use against each other. Boise State gonna lock in Renekton. We saw this previously. Very strong early game top laner. A lot of champions get bullied out by this Renekton. There are a few answers that people have pulled out, but overall, Renekton very much in your face, beat you down early, picking up that press the attack rune, dealing as much damage as possible. Now, one more pick available for the side of Boise State. It is going to be the Anivia. Now, that's an interesting champion, if I do say so myself. Does usually go into that mid lane position, but they have the Galio as well, so potential to flex either of those. Anivia support is something that's quite viable. You have the stun, you have the wall to prevent people from running away, you have an area of effect slow that also allows you to wave clear in the late game. Very useful to have, especially if the rest of your team doesn't have that wave clear or has to build into it like the Kai'Sa and the Renekton.
You are absolutely correct, Lovely. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome back, Zeratil.
Yes.
Lux is going to be the final pick.
Lux is going to be the final pick, and this is the final spark. We are back and combinated. Gosh, I missed most of the draft. I was able to do most of the troubleshooting while looking at this. And you are right. Both of these teams really like to have that kind of team fight focus. And it's going to be an explosive one once it gets there.
Definitely. But there's also a lot of pick potential also on both sides of the team. We've seen what a Renekton can do if he's got the setup. We've also seen that Thresh and Lilia and Gragas and Lux, there's also a whole bunch of pick potential there. If any one of those crowd control abilities lands on you, you're going to have the whole team following up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do also enjoy the kind of zone control and the metered pacing of the fights, because if the pick does come through from the side of Wyoming, look how many defensive tools they have. They have the Anivia wall, which can be used. Even that ultimate, that Blizzard, is fantastic. Of course, they have the last breath. Galio ult to come in and save them. And, you know, Renekton as well as Kai'Sa can pretty much peel for themselves in the moments they need to. So it really does kind of come through those mechanics. And a big part, of course, of every game, especially for both of these team comps, is going to be that vision control.
Yeah, but one thing I'm a little worried about in terms of Boise State's composition, yes, they have a lot of defensive and protective tools, but they're running into a very disruptive team composition. Thresh and Gragas both have abilities they're going to be able to use to push Boise State out of some of their strongest tools, or potentially engage on them even in the middle of using them.
Yeah, I also wonder, interesting that they banned away Rumble, because this almost seems like a perfect time for the Rumble to come out. You wait for like the last few seconds of that Kindred ult, and you just lay down that equalizer and burn them alive. But, you know, it does definitely mean that Boise State has to be a little bit careful on their pacing because of how disruptive this team is. So I definitely agree with you there, Glovely. So it really does kind of show that both these teams' finesse levels need to be put to the ultimate test.
Indeed. I'd like to say that you should pay attention very close to the top lane in the early stages of the game. I think that's going to have a huge impact on the later stages of the match.
Yeah, we're only predicting things, though, of course. This is going to be Boise State versus Wyoming. We're going to throw it to the ones covering the action. Fish, Jolly, take it away.
A little bit different than we saw in our series against Wyoming Jolly in terms of the draft. These definitely feel a lot more grounded. The Galio, I think, going to be very, very huge for Boise State once again. Looks like it's shaping up to be Dean on it this time, but those Heroes entrances still got to be on point because we saw Wyoming, when they land, usually win a team fight. When they whiff, doesn't always go in your favor.
Now, is that locked in? Only because, as Glovely Baratel mentioned, that Anivia can be flexed. It is going to be the Galio on the bottom side. You know, Boise State has made so many of those flex picks. I figured that's what it was, but no, very, very much by the books, pretty standard in terms of those picks. No crazy flex picks that we are so used to seeing from Boise State, and that might just have a lot to do with the fact that, hey, we have not seen this team before. Wildcard Gaming is brand new exposure to us players, us casters. And so it's probably a safe choice just to lock in more counter picks as opposed to those flex picks in hopes that they're not countered.
Yeah, little bit of early damage onto Ascent there. And definitely interesting. Never have seen him on the Anivia before. I know the Azir was one of his fallback options last season. Azir and the new items have not gone hand in hand as happily as I think a lot of Azir mains has wanted. He actually just got a buff in the most recent patch to try and make up for some of the items like the Nashor's Tooth that he did lose. So going to be a new champion for Ascent. I'm sure he's been practicing it quite a bit. Ethug on that Kindred. He played it a little bit last season. It had its moments, but my memory sort of seems to remind me that Ethug would do really well, but the team would struggle when he was on that Kindred. I'll be curious to see if he's able to try to change that in the new year, because when he has been on the range characters like a Twitch and a Kindred, he's had a great score. Boise State sometimes has not.
Yeah, it's always been a heavy sway for those games, and I do know Kindred was definitely one of the more popular ones that Ethug would fall back to if the main selections were banned out. I'm actually honestly not going to lie, just based on how good Talia is in the meta, I'm surprised we haven't seen anything regarding her. No teams trying to pick her up, but maybe just not as comfortable as she is either way out of the meta or way in the meta. And this time it's exclusively jungle, so Ethug might not like that style of champ. I remember good things about Kindred here for Ethug, but we'll see how it goes this time.
Dean taking a lot of damage on that Galio. Gets hooked in by Yasin, but able to survive. Boise State has had a ton of success with Galio, and we've seen him in the mid lane earlier today. I know there was a while there at the end of last semester where Dean was playing a lot of Galio support, caught us off guard the first time he did it, but he was able to play it just so incredibly well. And Red Hot's having a much better series. Maybe that Wyoming series was just a warm-up for him than he did last time against Wyoming, because he is doing a pretty decent job here against Porsche. At least in the early game, double the CS, definitely being the bully in that lane. But right now, everything's pretty standard. They didn't really want to try and interrupt Ghostly Cat. I mean, Lilia is a little weaker in her first clear, but it looks like everyone, newer teams, they probably don't have a lot of information. They just want to play this one a lot safer in game number one.
We know there's a lot of information on Boise State, though, and we saw the very first ban there from Wildcard Gaming was Ascent's Rumble. Therefore, we can at least imagine Wildcard Gaming has a little bit of info or has done a bit of research here on this Boise State team. We do know that Boise State, the Broncos, are also great at doing some research initially on the individual players themselves, pulling up the OPGGs, just trying to see what the best picks and bans are. But we don't have any footage of this team, whereas Wildcard Gaming has a considerable amount, hundreds of hours of Boise State playing. And because this is the same team we've seen for a while, they've got a lot to work with.
See Ghostly Cat now going to get caught out. Remember, trying to assist him, but it's first blood for Ethug. He will trade that 1-for-1 as he'll be taken out by Ghostly Cat. So both junglers going to pick up a kill. Both mid laners get an assist. Remember, incredibly low, but will survive. So Boise State just barely comes out ahead in that trade. We're going to allow Ascent to keep pushing in that way.
Looks like Boise State has the has the underhand here on creep score in every single lane. So Wildcard Gaming feeling very comfortable with the composition that they have matched up with. Quite a bit of priority in this bottom lane, at least for the first little bit here. We'll see if Boise State attempts to get that early roam going like we see all the time with Dean to try to make up for that lack of progression.
Now, there's a lot of tools for Wildcard Gaming in this bot side to be able to keep Dean at bay. Of course, you have the Flay. You also have the dash for Lucian, so he can dash away as Galio's dashing towards him. So there's a lot of ways to make it very hard for Dean to get in. We see that slice away by Red Hots is there when the wild seed's coming up from Ghostly Cat. Neither jungler really has found a great second gank. We see that the Cloud Drake is up on the map, but neither of them prioritizing it too much here. Red Hots trading pretty equal with Portia right now. We see in the mid lane, Ethug trying to set up for something, but the route on to his scent means that he's going to have a lot less successful time game.
All kinds of action going on.
Fortunately for Boise State, not the action they want, as Ghostly Cat on the follow-up, going to be able to take down one, gets a Dark Harvest off of Ascent as well, who's forced to flash away. So Boise State, great counter gank by Ghostly Cat, put himself in the right position, and remember, just barely staying alive from that burst damage, and Boise State unfortunately going to lose that one.
That top lane is pretty stable, though. I see a couple pings coming out. Red Hot's acknowledging, hey, Portia's gone back. Portia, do I sound pretentious one way or the other?
There's no way you'll say it correctly. You're going to upset some portion of the Portia versus Porsche fan base. So,
I'm out.
One day we just dream, we'll go to the dealership and they'll tell us how to correctly pronounce it. But today is not that day, so we'll just live through TC Portia and his tank Gragas. So I'll be really curious to see if they allow Red Hots to roam, because he's probably not going to pick up many kills on this Gragas, which is going to sort of limit how much damage that Renekton can do into the mid game.
Got some pressure back. Looks like Kindred's on the way up. That might not be enough.
Nice ult by Portia, forcing Red Hots into tower range. Had to blow his own ultimate just to survive. Playing that Gragas incredibly well, using that sort of interruption that we talked about Wyoming doing very well, using the Gragas in that manner. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Boise State, every time we go down here, they're just hugging that turret. Just missing the hook there from Yasin. It looks like Boise State's just going to retreat. They also have Remember and Ghostly Cat rotating down. The Broncos have to be incredibly careful. This is going to break out into what could be a full 4-on-4. Here come Ethug and Ascent. They're going to lose the red buff, though. Ethug wants revenge. It is a level 6. While the Lilia, though, going to land the Lullaby on to Ethug. No ult, and that is a dead Kindred. Ascent now stuck in an awful position as well. Passive going to proc. There is no assistance for Boise State, and that is a 2 quick kills for Wildcard Gaming.
And assists going all across the board for them as well, which is nice to see. That Remember alone on the Lux, 1-0-3, so 100% kill participation thanks to that roam down from Wildcard Gaming. And now they are approaching a 3K gold lead, just a little few hundred under that right now. I think we're going to see some pretty early roam from this top side. I'm surprised that Dean has just kind of stuck back here and not tried to put pressure elsewhere.
Now, unfortunately for Goblin, it on the Kai'Sa, which is the more meta pick than the Ashe, doesn't have as many tools to 1v2 effectively, especially against something like a Thresh. If you land that death sentence onto a Kai'Sa with no flash, he's guaranteed to be pretty much dead. So I understand Dean having to be a little bit more passive than probably he and Boise State wants, and it was a really good job by Ghostly Cat pressing his level advantage. And now he's going to pick up the Dragon as well, and Boise State's got to find a way to sort of slowly crawl back in. But, I mean, when you got someone like Ethug who likes to be aggressive, being down 2 levels is going to make that just so much harder, because he can't keep getting caught out or he'll fall farther and further behind.
Now, I do want to see a little bit more of a defensive rotation from Dean to get some vision down. We also need to clear out a lot of the vision the Wildcard Gaming put down. You can see the aggressive vision behind the Dragon Pit there and in that bush between the first and second bottom towers. So Boise State needs to keep an eye on that. They cannot allow that Lux to come down like she did before, participate in all of those kills, and then just comfortably head back up to lane.
Fortunately, Dean's first trip leaving lane not going to go very well. He's going to get caught out, going to be able to dash away. Colin comes out, nice stun onto Ghostly Cat. He will be taken out. Unfortunately, the burn will take down Ascent, who also got hit by the final spark. So it's a 1-for-1 for Boise State. Not a bad spot to be in when you're down 300 gold, but still would have liked to have had every member survive that engagement.
Portia down now on the bottom side as we had that rotation up from Dean, who got very, very low, is now trying to maintain that mid lane. So 9.5 minutes in, and we are seeing ridiculous rotations at this point. It's usually not until way later in the game that you see that top side with no TP, so didn't TP there, just walked that way as opposed to heading back up to lane, and we're just getting all kinds of transitions here now.
Yeah, you see that the bot lane for Wildcard Gaming has rotated up to the top side. Be curious to see if Boise State wants to match that or if they're just going to allow Red Hots to soak in the XP. Looks like Wildcard Gaming realizing that the Broncos have no interest, are just going to back away. So will Gragas. So looks like Boise State might have called their bluff just a little bit as you see Wildcard Gaming heading back down into their traditional spots. So maybe thought they could catch Dean rotating up and then have to back, but Boise State played that one perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. And you asked that question, and immediately the question of is Boise State going to respond to this or react the same way, mirror that movement? Immediately, no, there's no reason for them to. And that ended up just being a little bit of wasted time for Wildcard Gaming. Not a ton gained off of that. They do still have the gold lead with that kill lead and still a good CS differential in their favor in almost every single lane. The only one being very, very close is Goblin and Manui. They're in the ADC role. So a little bit concerning here for Boise State, but this feels very even. Whew.
Well, that was a chunk of damage from Remember. Somehow, oddly enough, it was actually the dot from Ghostly Cat that took down Ascent as he was credited with the kill, but the Lullaby after the Wild Seed, nothing Ascent could have done, even with the flash, the egg form, not yet online. And that Lux, who rarely is ever seen in this mid lane role, and even, at the end of last season was being outclassed by people like Brand as the AP go-to support, showing why she was originally designed as a mid laner. The amount of damage you can throw out with the final spark is insane, and it's a lot easier to hit him when the target can't move.
And Shelly's coming out here in the mid lane. Lots of pressure down here in bottom. Looks like they are looking for a fight.
Nice route there by Remember, making it so Shelly could not get in range to charge. Going to be able to end up getting one off anyway, so Ethag will still get a nice chunk of gold. Meanwhile, on the bot side, still looking for the first engage. Boise State playing this one incredibly passively. Goblin and Manui both tied at farm, so neither ADC has lost too much. There is a nice death sentence. Interesting interaction there with the Justice Punch. Two-man taunt is going to land. Manui dropping very low, has been ignited. Kaisa's going to dash over. Teleport has come out from Red Hots. Yasin caught in a very, very awful position. We are going to see the Wild Seed come out. Lullaby is available as well. Double teleport going to be used by both sides. Ghostly Cat wants to flash in. There's a two-man sleep. Nothing Red Hots can't do. He's going to get pushed away and taken out. But Ethug's going to be able to pick one up on the backside, and now Wildcard Gaming has to run away. Wild Seed's going to land, but no threat of a sleep there, and Boise State will take that in a 2-for-1 trade.
Lots of summoner spells expended there as well. Ethug might be caught out. Nope. No follow-up as they can see the descent is right there in the wing. So Boise State's going to try to take advantage of this positioning. But Wildcard's not going to let it go that easily.
Ethug now might be in a very awful spot. Going to be forced to use that ultimate. Good job by Manui to walk in to keep himself alive. Ult's going to fade. Both members incredibly low. Hero's entrance going to be enough to save Ethug. And it's a kill for Boise State. Manui trying to run away from Goblin. Going to be able to take him down with the ward. Yasin goes down as well. And Boise State, just like that, flipped the game on ahead. And they're going to pick up a 3-for-0.
That looked a little scary. Ethug getting caught out there. That ultimate timing was fantastic, but at the same time, we saw Ghostly Cat Manui manage to just walk right into it. But Boise State's reactionary time is very, very good, and that's why I was saying, even though there are many number differences, now it is evened out. Right before all of those fights broke out, I was saying it feels very even. It's only in the sense that both teams are adapting very quickly to the other's play style. And I like the compositions for both teams as well to push into this later game, whether they're far ahead or a little bit behind.
Looks like Red Hot should be able to pick up a turret here. Gold is basically even. He's going to get another plate. Unfortunately, he's probably going to lose his life for it. The Wild Seed hits, the Lullaby is available. They're not going to need it. Red Hot's going to try and dash away. Colding comes out. He will flash away as well. Wild Seed's going to pick him up, though. So he will trade 2 turret plates for his life. Probably not the best decision, but it was the same understanding where you're trying to get those plates. They were fading very, very soon. So to trade Boise State, it's got to be okay with. I mean, you basically got 320 gold and gave the other team 300. So net gain for Boise State. Unfortunately for them, they are going to lose a lot of pressure on that top side.
And they are still facing a discrepancy in gold now. They had almost evened it up, but 1K differential is not that big of a deal. We just saw it 16 minutes in a previous game, a 6K gold differential. So Boise State maintaining things much better, especially considering the the insane rotations coming from all 10 players on Summoner's Rift right now, just figuring out where the best position is to take advantage of that composition and of the pressure that some of these players have in lane, some of the priority laning.
Does look like it's another lane swap for Wildcard Gaming. They set their bot side up to the top. Does look like Boise State is not going to be able to defend that, so first turret will fall on the side of Wildcard Gaming. They also had Ghostly Cat up there to protect them, and Boise State will lose first turret, now fall just a little bit further behind in goal, but as you mentioned, Jolly, game still feels very, very even between these two sides.
That first tower down, not in Boise State's favor, not a very normal thing. And quite a few plates going down on those towers. So there is a lot of potential pressure from everyone here as Ethug engages.
So they're going to get the stopwatch out from Ghostly Cat. He's not going to be able to dash away. Dean picks up that one. They're going to hop onto Porsche. He's going to try and flash away. Just barely survives. Hero's entrance not going to keep Ethug alive as the final spark clips him. Now Boise State's got to be careful. Coling's going to come out. Dean will body block for Goblin. Broncos holding on for a 1-for-2 trade right now. Dean will just his punch away, and it looks like Boise State, the burst damage from the double Kraken Slayer from Goblin and Ethug is absolutely insane. That's a big reason why Ghostly Cat and Porsche could not survive.
And a lot of that even feeling, I would say, is the fact that Goblin is currently sitting at 3-0-0 on a Kaisa, who is just busted right now. Very, very powerful. And with Kaisa, it's always different too. So if you can adapt to her current meta, whether it's on hit, whether it's attack speed, whether it's pure damage, this, Goblin is absolutely one that is able to adapt to that. So Boise State getting this, I can guarantee it will be the first ban, whether or not Wildcard wins this game, the first ban for WCG.
See, they're going to get a nice root. Final Spark will still cast through, though, despite the taunt. Ethug wants to hop on to Remember. Kraken Slayer is going to eliminate the Lux in Boise State. Nice use of the CC, nice dodging of the Final Spark there by Dean, getting the taunt from behind. And Boise State takes back the kill lead. Only problem is that the rest of the map slightly favoring Wildcard Gaming. 2 turrets down for them, none for Boise State. Rift Herald is up here. We'll see if the Broncos can burst it down. Ghostly Cat's still there, but going to blast cone away and hand the second one over to Boise State.
I do feel much more confident in Boise State's late game with how powerful Kaisa will get. We know how good Ethug tends to be, especially utilizing those ultimates on the full team fights, and then Red Hot's on the Renekton getting into the late game. They just have a lot of potential, as well as utility for Ascent and Dean on the Anivia and the Galio. On the other side, though, you have a little bit more fall off from Wildcard Gaming, so if Boise State can push this out to a much longer game, they will have a little bit of an advantage in that sense.
Now, Boise State's biggest concern has to be if Ghostly Cat's able to run in, land a 3 or 4 man sleep, and Remember can follow it up with the Final Spark. It doesn't matter how much damage you have when you are dead. So that's got to be the thing for Boise State, is just how quickly the recent Lilia's still meta is how quickly she can turn a team fight by just landing 2 abilities. You land a 3 or 4 man Q right into his sleep, or how about a 1 man right into his sleep onto Ascent. He's going to have the egg form, but it's not going to matter. Here's Entrance going to kind of come in and save the egg, but he can't get there in time. Boise State still engaging, though. Ethug on the back line wants to drop onto Yasin, going to get rooted up. Boise State has to disengage. Yasin doesn't respect the damage, though, and Ethug's going to make this a 1-for-none. Another wild seed over the wall. There's no Final Spark. Red Hot barely dodges the root, and Boise State should be able to disengage, but they've got to be careful as Wildcard Gaming want to chase him down. Dean hanging out in the bush. Looks like Wildcard Gaming is going to realize it's a free Ocean Drake with the Ocean Soul, and Boise State will just use this time to drop Rift Herald.
A very invasive play by Wildcard Gaming. We saw it take place just below that Raptor pit, so farther onto Boise State's jungle side. That meant that Boise State ended up pushing Wildcard into their own jungle, but were not able to follow it up with the benefit of it leaving their side here. He's not getting jumped on, though.
Oh, perfect ultimate negates all of the Final Spark damage. Ghostly Cat doesn't run into it. Porsche caught out as well. Lantern's over the wall, but it's not going to matter. Ethug once more hops over the wall, bursts down Yasin, but it's not enough, and we talked about it. You mentioned it, Jolly. He is so good at landing those ultimates. That Final Spark did nothing.
Exactly. Absolutely, literally nothing. His timing has been phenomenal. That is one of the standout things that I do remember about Ethug on this Kindred. Haven't seen it in a while now. Definitely fell off a little bit towards the end of last season for Boise State, but I'm glad to see it back. It fits this composition very well. This is a high damage comp and a few easy ways to engage, most of it being Dean on that frontline initiation, taking the aggro, and it is working perfectly. Ethug now has also just been, a big thorn in every side of Wildcard Gaming, because Ethug has been making these super aggressive plays, going very deep into the jungle and barely staying alive in time for the rest of the team to catch up and make a play off of it. So Ethug's got to feel pretty good about bringing that one back.
Yeah, Kindred, one of those champions that when the new items were introduced, you're like, okay, 3 attacks with the Kraken Slayer, it makes sense for Kindred, for Vayne, and it's one of those champions where if you let that third stack get off, not only did it used to hit hard with Kindred, it's just going to hit that much harder. He's burst people down from 40% almost in the snap of a finger. So if he's able to roam the back lines, gets caught out, can just drop his ultimate and then keep going, Boise State's going to be in a very, very good position. As you mentioned, Dean, not only can he absorb a lot of the damage like a tank, unlike Yasin, he can CC multiple people at the same time.
And he's sitting at 2-0-9. This is a perfect score bottom lane right now, as Goblin is sitting at 3-0-2. Lots of bounties on the heads of Boise State. And while it seems like 13-10 is not an insane differential for those kills, the kills that Wildcard is getting are not the ones that they want to get shut down. They're not the ones that they want to get lots of kills on. So Boise State is playing very safely around what is going to be a very hard carry portion of this team fight. That's Goblin.
You can see Eastug with the mini execute as well. Going to allow him to execute people when they drop below 5%, which is going to make it even harder for those people to escape. See, the Baron is up. I'm sure Boise State would love to take advantage of it. Right now, though, Portia is in the bot side with teleport, and Ascent does not have his. So Boise State, no teleport advantage. They're just going to even up the turrets at 3 aside, as Red Hot's going to keep pushing along the way. The CS even pretty much across the board. There is a little bit of a lead, though, for Remember, about 30 CS ahead of Ascent. And the gold lead favoring Boise State by about 1.5K. Ethug, just, you see the Wildcard Gaming sees him, like, no, I don't want to deal with this guy. I go, you go ahead. I'm turning around.
And Boise State was not responding the same way when they found Wildcard Gaming in their jungle, I'll tell you that much. Very quickly jumping onto that, turning it into an aggressive play, or an attempted an aggressive play. Now a little bit of a scuffle here with Ascent and Portia.
I'll be curious to see if Wildcard Gaming can take advantage. You see 3 members of Boise State, really even 4, with the Ethug rotating down, are trying to help out Ascent. Looks like Goblin's the only one who makes it there. This could open it up for a potential Baron if Wildcard Gaming was fast enough. Looks like Boise State, though, realized that. They pulled back, and now everyone's going to resettle in. But Portia's still pushing that bot lane. We've now learned Ascent cannot contest it.
It's like Ocean Drake. Gonna be the next one. A little over a minute before that happens. Boise State trying to keep pressure here on this mid side. Somebody is going to eventually have to respond to Gragas down here at the bottom. Portia, as he is leading a pretty ferocious line of minions, but Boise State is having fun playing and fighting in the jungle here, and they're making enough off of those plays that they can wait a decent bit until they actually go deal with that bottom lane. And I guess all it's going to take is Ascent one more time, making an appearance.
Yeah, Ascent's just going to go in, stop that wave. You can see the pings coming out. Ocean Dragon on the table in less than a minute. Boise State probably doesn't want to hand it over to Wildcard Gaming. Wouldn't be Soul Point, but would put them at a 3-1 Dragon advantage. And with the additional healing from the Ocean Drake, just makes Ethug's poke a little bit less deadly. So we'll see if Boise State can get a pick here. But right now, everyone's just kind of waiting things out with Ocean Dragon nearing its spawn time. Whew. Or you can just flash over the wall, one-shot the Lux before you can click on the Lantern, Ethug. It's just that simple, mind you. Gotta make sure you're ready for any of it. Another thing with Kindred, go over walls, too. You might be like, oh, it's warded, I don't see him. Boom, right over the wall. Perfect use of the flash from Ethug. Probably going to mean this should be an easier Ocean Dragon for Boise State. Curious if Wildcard Gaming maybe pulls the trigger on the Baron. Lux's Baron damage isn't going to be something they'll totally miss, but Ethug right now at the point, he's just going to rip this Dragon apart and going to be able to go wherever Boise State needs him.
That's what... just another point that I was making a little bit ago of the late game potential of the composition that we have got here. A big part of it being Red Hots, Ethug, and Goblin are just offering so much damage as the game goes on. and so much clear. We already know Boise State loves going to Wildcard Gaming's jungle, clearing out as much as possible, or even trying to get a rise or get a fight out of Wildcard. And now that Kindred has hit that spike, he's hit a few items and is able to just knock objectives out in no time, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Wildcard to roam around their own jungle.
Yeah, you see a collector picked up there by Goblin now, so the executes across the board for Boise State's 2 carries in that Kindred and that Kaisa. So Wildcard Gaming not going to be able to get away with small amounts of health. Definitely an item that is seen more play than I expected when it was first introduced, that sort of mini Elder Dragon puff that you get to keep permanently. Still that Baron up, though. I'm sure both teams would love to fight over that. And right now, Boise State, as long as Ghostly Cat doesn't land a big sleep, I think they've got to like the fact that Etha can probably 1v1 anyone on the enemy team right now.
It is also something to point out that a lot of the kills are going to, well, what is really just a majority AP team for Wildcard Gaming. Their attack damage really just coming from that Lucian, who has finished Gale Force and, you know, it's got the S-Streaker as well there, so not doing too badly. Still ahead in creep score, but much better spread of damage coming from the Broncos going into that team. And again, the longer the game goes, the better it looks for Boise State, unless that happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ascent's probably the only one who hasn't had a great game. Hero's Entrance is going to land the knockup onto Yasin. Box will come out, and unfortunately, Ascent's going to get picked off. There it is, the 4-man lullaby. Boom goes the laser. Ethug's going to keep them both alive, but for how long? Healing's going to go out, 1 kill down. Boise State's going to trade 1 for 1 as Goblin is on a rampage, forced to flash away. But Inui get there in time. No, he cannot. Red Hot's doing as much healing as he can. Looks like he is going to get caught out as well. It's just a matter of time. The empowered Q healing only keeps him alive for so long. MVP is the only dead member for Wildcard Gaming. A 4-man Q into the sleep from Ghostly Cat, and that is going to be a Baron for Wildcard Gaming.
Fantastic play. It's the cast and curse, right? Of saying Boise State seems to be in control, and then something like that happening. We were waiting for it, though, and another engage by Yasin.
Boise State does enough to pull Wildcard Gaming off the Baron, but it's still doing some side damage onto Remember. Dean's going to be taken out there. Final Spark is going to chunk Ascent down. No egg form this time. And winning with the assist from Baron, Boise State loses 2, but the trade proves worthy as they're going to pull Wildcard Gaming off the Baron.
We're now about 27 minutes in, 15 and 15, only a 4K gold difference, sorry, a 0.4K, so 400 gold difference. Very, very close here in this game. Now, Boise State does have the advantage in those towers, so they do have the potential to add a little bit more pressure to different parts of the map of Wildcard Gaming. If Ghostly Cat can pull off something like that, even just one more time, we're far enough in the game that the respawn timers are going to be high enough, and they have enough pressure here on these fights that they might be able to break into the base and potentially do more than that from one single play, that similar to one we just saw.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's getting to the point where they're going to just start chunking through towers, and it really comes down to Boise State, the awareness of where Ghostly Cat is on the map. Can he get into a team fight? We saw the flash just slams down the Q, and I'm sure he was mashing R as hard as he could. Even a great ult from Ethug, nullizing the final spark, was not enough for Boise State. And as you mentioned, it's all evened up here, 15 and 15 aside. Boise State with just the 1 extra turret. The Tier 2 mid lane tower has been taken out from the Broncos, setting up a little bit of a mini death burst that they pulled off a couple times against Wyoming in our first series of the night. But both teams very aware. Ocean Dragon spawning in less than a minute. It would be the 3rd dragon for one of these teams. Ocean Soul, very powerful. That's a living through burst damage like that can definitely change a team fight. So the Broncos make sure they want to get that. Red Hot doesn't want to get caught out. So everyone's very scared of throwing away this next dragon fight.
We've also got no deaths still on Goblin, as we've been touching on throughout the game here, and a couple of bounties now on Wildcard Gaming. So another in-game. This has been such an aggressive fight, or aggressive game.
Oh, great use of the taunt to try and peel for his carry, but it wasn't enough. Goblin's first death of the game, also going to make Dean drop as well. Gragas Barrel's going to redirect Ascent. He's going to land 1 stun, but get rooted out by a max range Q from Remember. And Boise State will lose 3. A great teleport by Portia to get into the team fight. A great job landing that lullaby onto Goblin. And just like that, this should be a Baron for Wildcard Gaming.
Now that goal differential is certainly going to increase after this. All 5 members are up for this one. We can see that Lux is making her way down to that dragon. Going to try to sway more objectives in their favor here. No contests from Boise State. No options, really. Nothing that can be done here. And Red Hots needs to be careful moving forward.
Yeah, no, nothing in he could have done. Ethug was also taken out at the very end of that fight, so that prevented any sort of Baron steal attempt. Of course, Kindred, one of the better champions to steal an objective on, because you can make it invulnerable, and then as long as you time your smite, you can steal it away. But couldn't even get into the fight, so it's 2 objectives for Wildcard Gaming. It's a Baron. It's the 3rd Dragon of the game for them. 2nd Ocean Drake there, 1 away from the Soul, and Boise State's got to be very careful and they don't over pursue, because as you mentioned, now we're even to the point, especially with Baron Jolly, 1 more wipe for Boise State, 1 more ace for the side of Wildcard Gaming, and it's GG.
Boise State doesn't quite have the same pressure as well the Wildcard Gaming does, even without the Baron there. Just really rather the pressure that Wildcard has constantly had in lanes, even when Boise State has gone forward to get these towers. They are technically 1 up on towers right now, but Wildcard Gaming does not allow the pressure to be maintained in one direction. However, we'll see Boise State have all 3 lanes pushed up into them, and that means that they're going to have to respond by splitting up the team instead of being able to respond as a group, which at this point in the game is a little bit more necessary than it has been so far.
Yeah, the other issue for Boise State is who's going to be able to match Portia. We already saw about 5-6 minutes ago it was sent incapable of doing that on that Anivia. 2 and 7, not going to be any easier. So Boise State's going to try and take 1 more fight. Colling's going to come out, force E-Thug away. Red Hot's now going to get caught up in a root. The CC layered perfectly by Wildcard Gaming, and they're not going to allow Red Hots to get away. Goblin's going to try and dash on the other side of Wildcat, trying to do what he can. Flashes, gets out the Zanyas, but nothing more. Another Zanya is going to be used here by Ascent. He will be made quick work of as well, and now the 2 members of Boise State remaining going to have to back away, and this should be an easy mid inhibitor for Wildcard Gaming.
Easy mid inhibitor and possibly more. All 5 members pushing through here. They are cleaning up objectives with no problem, and you are looking at 23 seconds of the next respawn on Goblin as Kaisa. So this should likely be the game for Wildcard Gaming, unless Boise State can make a miracle happen.
Well, there's 1. Ghostly Cat going to be forced to jump away with the tower attacking him. It's 2 for E-Thug. Make it 3. How about 4 as Boise State trying to push Yasin away, barely gets out of the range of Wolf, and Boise State, with the last-ditch heroic effort of E-Thug, picks up a triple kill and sends the 2 remaining members of Wildcard Gaming running for the hills. Red Hots teleports in. Oh, and no, he hit the blast cone, and that's going to allow Remember to get away. No, there's a teleport actually from Ascent, so Boise State probably commits a couple more resources than they would have liked to, but they're going to pick up the ace. And when Boise State needed it most, E-Thug comes through in a huge way with a big assist from Dean, and the rest of the team finishes him off. And Boise State clinging by a thread.
Huge bounties picked up there as well. We saw just from that final kill on the left, 650 gold, and that's going in the pockets of Anivia, who has been hurting considerably. The entire game really has struggled on this pick, and I do think a lot of it is based on the pick itself. Not sure if Anivia was the best to settle in here, but hey, we also know that Remember is going to be banned out for the next game, as this Lux has been devastating to the entire map here now. Boise State with the death push, and it worked.
Boise State really good at pulling those off. Manui didn't really even have a chance to realize what just hit him. Boise State clinging on here. Now, of course, they only have 1 Nexus turret left, so any sort of major team fight win by Wildcard Gaming, and it is all over, but that is not going to stop the Broncos. They're pushing as hard as they can. Should be able to get this tier 2 bot lane tower with the demolish from Red Hots. Quite a bit of damage from E-Thug as well. We'll see if Wildcard Gaming wants to start a fight now that the turret has gone down. The death sentence is going to land. Flay Red Hots away with the ultimate. And Boise State will just back off. They see Ghostly Cat is hanging around by Goblin. Final Spark not going to land onto anything, and Boise State will retreat and try and make sure Wildcard Gaming doesn't get the Dragon Soul with it being on the map in the next few minutes.
And this team I was just checking maybe just to see, like a Lux pick is generally a pocket pick for somebody that's very comfortable on Lux. They want it specifically for the matchup or if it's the team. But as of right now, really it's the comfort level. And this is not a champion that, remember, consistently plays. These are all master grandmaster players as well currently. So Boise State is really holding their own. That is for 2021, mind you, of master grandmaster players already having played tons of ranked games, already adjusting to this new meta and how to really work these new items. And Boise State is finding it harder and harder to move forward with this. Actually, I take that back. I think that's how it feels, but they're doing much better as the game progresses. That goal differential is almost nothing now.
Yeah, Boise State has evaporated any semblance of a lead that Wildcard Gaming has, except for in turrets. Benui is going to be forced to pop the calling just to make sure Ethug doesn't one-shot him. Now, Boise State is trading this mid-inhibitor turret for Ocean Soul, which is a very, very questionable decision. The Broncos are going to try and rotate down as fast as possible. Dean's going to get down there, land the taunt as well. Drag is incredibly low. The steal is not going to be able to be pulled off. They will take down Ghostly Cat, but still it is Ocean Soul on the side of Wildcard Gaming. Remember, now being chased down, lands the root onto Red Hot. He'll flash over the E, land the stun here. Zendra's going to come down as well. The Lux cannot get out of the way, so Boise State will trade 3 for 0, but they have to remember that Ocean Soul is going to make things a little bit tougher, so the Broncos now on a clock to make sure they can finish this game out before the damage they do just gets healed off by Wildcard Gaming.
And as usual, while Boise State is making that main push in the mid, just keep an eye on minions in the top and the bottom side of the map for Wildcard Gaming. They're going to continue to pressure. This is going to completely negate that, though. Boise State is able to take this. When you have a Kindred on your side at 35 minutes in the game, that thing's going to go down in 5 seconds or less, and it just did. Ethug, only a couple autos to take out any of these objectives now at this point, which is going to give Boise State a major, major upper hand on breaking through the base. Also based on the respawn timers that are so incredibly high right now. Kindred can solo destroy that base if there is an ace on the side of Boise State.
Yeah, next ace probably ends the game for either side. Really going to be interesting to see who's able to pull it off. Boise State with the minor advantage. It's Ocean Soul versus Baron Buff for the next 2 minutes and 27 seconds. I'm sure that means Boise State would love to fight if they get an opportunity, because right now everything has been going their way. Probably don't want to wait for the Elder Dragon to be on the Rift in 5 minutes. Their inhibitor is respawning in the mid as well, so that will alleviate some of the mid pressure. And Boise State's done a really good job in these last 5 to 7 minutes, just barely clinging on to being able to be the ones that are applying all the pressure.
Reclaiming control of that gold lead, really dominating and initiating all of these fights, I think is the big thing. But I talked about it way early on. The longer this game goes, the better off Boise State is, no matter what. Whether it's focusing objectives, whether it's going on these team fights, their team falls off way less than Wildcard Gaming does in general.
Now, the only thing Boise State has to watch out for, the only thing that will not fall off for Wildcard Gaming is Ghostly Cat and his ability to absolutely flip a team fight if he lands a 3 or 4 or even maybe 5-man ultimate and puts all of Boise State to sleep for those 2 seconds, allows Remember to line up the final spark, because that Lux ultimate, for the amount of damage it does, has probably one of the shortest cooldowns in the game for an ultimate of that status, because it's only about 20-30 seconds. I mean, he threw it out, it's already back up. It's almost like a chip damage spell at this point that'll hit for half your health.
And more than that, considering a couple of the items that we've got here as well on the side of Wildcard Gaming. 1 minute now left on that Baron timer. So Boise State not quite maybe making up what they want from that. Ethug, though, gonna go in hard.
Yeah, Ethug's gonna pick up a double kill for himself. Goblin gets the 3rd one. Yasin forced to flash away. Probably not the Grag Assault you wanted, as it's gonna mean that is a dead Thresh, and Boise State now sitting at 40 seconds in a 1-on-5. And it looks like Portia's already given up hope. He leaves the game, and Boise State, with 1 tower left, Ethug pulled out a miracle, and the Broncos responded in tune. Boise State picks up the Game 1 win over Wildcard Gaming.
Wildcard's letting that go too little too late. Boise State having the upper hand.
Yeah, really a great job by Boise State. Of course, the Idaho Army National Guard is a big supporter of Boise State esports. Of course, they sponsor the top plays, and I'm sure you're going to see that E-Thug triple kill in those top 5 plays. The Idaho Army National Guard also invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering a $20K bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Absolutely insane from Boise State. All hope was basically lost. 5 members in the base with Baron, and E-Thug out of nowhere pulls out the triple kill, and there's nothing that Wildcard Gaming could do after that.
That's what happens when you let a Kindred get that far into the game too, and you don't keep her shut down. Even if she is shut down, it's so much damage, particularly to objectives, that really makes a big impact when you have such long respawn timers, like I was just saying there at the very end. And I would imagine that those 2 jungles are probably going to be up high. If anything, Lilia, honestly, over the Kindred, because Kindred is kind of situational, whereas that Lilia was played very, very well, and something that I would assume Boise State would not want to let slip past. If I could call one ban out of the 5 players from that last team, I would think Lilia should be high on the list for Boise State.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Lily gets through unless Boise State wants to pick it. That's the great thing about E-Thug. He's so hard to ban out because he plays such a wide repertoire of jungle champions so well. Well, that's going to do it for game number 1. We're going to take a short break. We'll see if Boise State can win their first game in the group of death of the Upsurge League, or if Wildcard Gaming forces us to our second game 3 of the night. Only time will tell, but we'll be back after this short break with game 2 right on the horizon.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Legendary parts for legendary wins. Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
Welcome back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. It's the opening week of the 2021 Upsurge League, and right now Boise State is doing pretty well in the Baron Division. They win Game 1 in a nail-biter against Wildcard Development. As you see right here, here is the group, a nice mix of collegiate team as well as amateur teams. You see Wildcard Gaming and Boise State down there at the bottom. This being referred to as potentially the group of death in the Upsurge League, one of the hardest groups to make it out of. And right now Boise State trending in the right direction. direction, but as we saw in our first series of the night, just one good Game 1 does not mean the series is over, as we saw Wyoming battle back and force a Game 3. We'll see if Wildcard Gaming can do the same as well. Well, let's head right into our Game 2 draft, and we are going to toss it over to Glovely and Baritone. Before we do that, we do have a couple of replays here that we want to take a look at and see how everything transpired for Boise State, especially with the fantastic play of Ethug using that ultimate on that Kindred to stay alive several times that he would have died on any other jungler.
So many times. Such a sliver of health. And even if, in that play specifically, even if an enemy manages to swipe their way into that ultimate, doesn't matter, because by that time the rest of Boise State has gone to assist Ethug, and even if Ethug ends up going down in those fights, Boise State makes it a positive one. No big surprise. That is who we are seeing here.
Yeah, and that was really the fight that shifted the game from Boise State favor to Wildcard Gaming favor. The 4-man lullaby by Ghostly Cat, perfect use of the stopwatch as well to make sure he could not be CC'd during that cast, and Boise State fell apart in short time, and it was really leading Wildcard Gaming the whole time up until this fantastic play from Ethug. You can see here 5 members alive, all of them with Baron buff, sieging your Nexus turret. One goes down. Turret, huge assist to it as it picked up a majority of those finishing points. But Boise State, triple kill for Ethug. He was able to allow Boise State to survive, and the Broncos did not let that opportunity slip away. So I would say, you said Lilia might be high priority. Would not shock me if Kindred joins the ban list as well for Wildcard Gaming.
Those are the two for me for sure.
It's Game 2 of the Upsurge Premier League. Boise State and Wildcard Gaming getting ready to go into our Game 2 draft to see how they're going to respond from that Game 1 where both teams had their moments, but it was Boise State that ended up being victorious here. And I'm really curious to see what the jungle pick is going to be, because there's only so many bans you can handle for Boise State, because one of them's always got to go to Rumble in Phase 1.
That's the nice thing about Ascent being on the team, absolutely, is if it is not dedicated, if it's not dedicated Phase 1, you are almost never going to be able to get it into Phase 2. Only once or twice have we seen it break through and the team prioritizes something else, just because of how dominant Ascent is on that Rumble. If you look at the play history, it is 15 games of Rumble, a couple games of Malphite maybe before that, but that is the classic for this player. So there's a reason we never see it picked here. But I do think, I'd mentioned before the game ended, about 5 minutes before the end of that one, that the two I definitely see at the top of the list are going to be the junglers. I would say if it was one of the two, probably Lilia over that, only because of how well it was played. Mm-hmm. But on the same end, Ethug is an absolute master on Kindred. Maybe I've just seen so much of it that I almost take it for granted. And the ultimates in particular spectacular. So that's certainly got to be, I would say, two high priorities. Number one, 100% priority of Rumble.
Let's go find out. Let's head to the Game 2 draft. And as we saw in Game number 1, Baritone and Glovely going to take it away. Jolly and I will be back for the Game 2 as soon as it's ready to go.
Ooh, Glovely, what a Game 1. And fantastic that we get to now break down this draft, because it's now time for these teams to adapt and overcome. All-Star, maybe the All-Star of the future tournament. No Rumble. We'll never see Rumble be played by Boise State. No way.
I mean, we can keep on dreaming. We know what a powerful pick it is in the hands of a set, but everyone, of course, bans it first away. It's like whenever I get into Jam Select, everybody knows the Garen is coming. So you got to get the power picks out of the way while you still can. But looking at the team compositions from the previous game and how well those champions did, Lilia, of course, still on the board. Where our fan base Kane, though, is going to be prioritized as that jungle takeaway.
Yeah, we have seen a little bit of rise in lane Kane, but definitely not as prevalent as that jungle Kane. And as you were mentioning, we saw Lilia kind of shining through. I do want to also put a little bit of sparkle note on the Kaisa and the Kindred playing superlatively well, getting the damage where they need to. A Graves ban, taking away another carry jungler here from the side of Ethug is a great choice.
Yeah, very strong carry jungler, of course. We've seen him draw a lot of fans to that champion. He also has a very strong matchup into the Lilia if they were going to let that through. Gangplank is going to be banned away. Once more, powerful champion. In this case, very strong top laner, great global presence with that ultimate of his. So he's going to be taken off of the board. Both of those powerful junglers from the previous game, though, still up and available, and Kindred is going to be banned away.
Kindred's going to be banned, and this is the time for Boise State to whether or not take away the Lilia as well, because after this last ban, it goes into the first pick phase, and I'm sure that Wildcard Gaming would be more than happy to draft this Lilia again.
I mean, the Lilia was definitely an early pick for them. Zoe is going to be the one who they ban away, so Lilia is still on the board for both of these teams. First pick over to the side of Wildcard. They could grab the Lilia here, but it does leave them open to some sort of potential counter pick from the side of Boise State. Apparently,
this appears to be Seraphine again as a ban.
Seraphine.
Yeah, understandably so. Shyvana, though.
That is the Seraphine.
This is the okay. Fair enough.
We don't have a Seraphine in our inventory. We're working on it. So Shyvana is the placeholder for that. That is going to be Seraphine first pick. So Lilia is still on the board. Ethan could pick that up for himself if he wanted to. But it is going to be the Kaisa lock-in. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting.
AD carry.
Yeah, a great ADC, not one that has a lot of, I guess, champions to worry about there in the bottom lane. Although, as we've seen in the past, Kaisa's success can be stifled a little bit with a nice combo of that bottom lane. Interestingly enough, and Jolly had mentioned this, how this Galio can be flexed when it comes to the Boise State University roster, and I don't think that this is an opportunity for them not to flex that. Of course, we can see Dean do a tremendous amount of work here on the Galio, but if we do want to nod to someone who knows how to play those kind of tanky AP bruisers, we got Ascent here in the mid lane who's done phenomenal work both on Galio and Nautilus.
Olaf, oh no, that's a dangerous pick that managed to get through. Surprisingly, the Lilia not picked up, but the Olaf, very powerful champion, that Gore Drinker, brand new item that keeps him alive, sustains him through these fights. The one way you handle an Olaf is that you have to burst him down. You can't crowd control him because of his ultimate, and if you prevent that burst with the Gore Drinker, he's essentially unstoppable.
We always talk about when it comes to these higher in-depth analytics lovely of a ball delivery system. How about Olaf being your Seraphine ultimate delivery system? He runs forward, rampant, raging, berserking, and he's just going to get everyone charmed in to walk into him. So I think that's a great choice. And the Senna, in addition, leads me to believe that this Wildcard Gaming wants to show that they have a carry jungler as well.
Definitely. It's sort of a straight line scenario where everyone's firing their ultimates off the back of Olaf. Kind of reminds me of the idea of some sort of sniper rifle stand in a way where Olaf is the one holding everyone's ammunition towards the enemy here. Boise State does have one more pick. They are going to lock in the Hecarim. Very agile, fast jungler, great for initiation. We've seen Boise State run this around a lot, and of course, it's something of a signature pick given that we are the Broncos.
Yeah, it is our raging pony, and it is a great idea because you can see right now Olaf being kind of the backline diver for the side of Wildcard Gaming. As of right now, he's all alone. But to be honest, if he does charge forward, Hecarim can then push himself, Galio, and Kaisa into the vulnerable backline. And that Lux ban, we had talked about it here before the draft. The casters also talked about Fish and Jolly hit the nail on the head. That was not going to see play.
Definitely a great champion for picking targets out and locking them down. And of course, throwing that shield across your entire team is very useful, especially when you're already lining up in a straight line like this. Silas going to be taken off the table. Very strong mid lane champion. Has some great healing, and of course, being able to steal whatever powerful ultimates are on the other side, very useful for him.
We'll have to see. The last band's coming out. Camille being banned from Wildcard Gaming. Boise State not really feeling comfortable. So I wonder if then we do see again that Trundle pick maybe, or we see Red Hots playing the Pantheon again, maybe to try and influence this kind of, hey guys, we're fighting on this side of the map, everyone come here right now kind of play style.
Definitely have that option. Aatrox is going to be the final ban, very sustain heavy top laner, so going to be denied. Even after the nerfs, you know, still has a lot of ability to keep himself alive. It's a very sustain heavy game, and even as we look into Champion Select right now, over on the side of Wildcard Gaming, they already have 3 champions who are very reliant on healing, so I expect to see some previous ones come out, it is going to be Malphite picked up for Boise State's top lane.
Yeah, and a comfort pick as well because it's not something that typically sees the rift in these higher elo games. But again, we've seen Red Hots catch many a top laner as well as any other players unaware of how much this champion can do in terms of damage. So a great addition here to the roster on this particular game. And we're just going to have to see what Wildcard Gaming shapes up with because as of right now, this Senna, we don't know if this is ADC or not. Now we know.
Shen is going to be locked into that top lane up against the Malphite, and it's going to be Victor for the mid. Very powerful champion after the preseason changes, gave changes to his passive, so he doesn't have to worry about upgrading his Hex Tech core before his other items anymore.
Mm-hmm. And I really do like the tandem power that Shen and Olaf have because, again, if he's charging forward by himself, Shen will be able to, without a doubt, join him, permitting that his ultimate doesn't get interrupted.
Yeah, this is very much a focus on the power. Oh, Mordekaiser! That's a brilliant option.
Is this Malphite mid then?
It could be. It could also be Mordekaiser mid. Both champions have the ability to go into that mid lane. Heck, you can play Hecarim top and send either Mordekaiser or Malphite to the jungle if you wanted to.
True.
So there is some versatility in those last 3 picks available. But what I like about the Mordekaiser is the fact that he has the ability to grab Olaf and say, you're not going to team fight. And then suddenly the key champion who everyone else's efforts are based around is wiped from the map.
Yeah, you gotta be careful though, because if I'm not mistaken, you can CC cleanse out of it. Rengar W, QSS, Olaf ult as well. But permitting that gets avoided, Boise State has a really nice chance of turning a nice 5v5 into a 4v4 in their favor.
Definitely something very important to watch for. Watch the cooldown timing of that ultimate. I think Kaisa is also going to be very big, very important in these situations. But it looks like now we are about to get back into game, so we're going to hand it on back to the caster desk with Fish and Lisa. We'll be hanging out in the comments until then.
Lovely, and Beartail, definitely the all aggro comp run back, it kind of feels like Jolly for Boise State. We saw this against Wyoming. At least they did draft a little bit more tanky than they did against Wyoming in Game 2, but if Ethug gets ahead on that Hecarim like we've seen from time to time, it's going to be very, very hard for Wildcard Gaming to deal with that. But if he falls behind like we saw against Wyoming in Game 2, things could crumble apart very quickly for Boise State. We could be in a Game 3 before we know it.
Boise State does love that high mobility, highly aggressive jungler specifically, but really the whole composition. And Hecarim is kind of the epitome of that, of getting some early clears, being able to gank pretty early. And we already know Ethug, whether or not it's an early jungle, they're going to take it out. And he's going to push as far as it can go. Really, I hope, to be honest, that the Malphite is going in the mid lane just because that matchup is a little more difficult against the Shen, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I know when we've seen this sort of Malphite, this is a core that we saw Boise State actually play a lot last semester, where it was the Hecarim, it was the Malphite, it was the Mordekaiser. The bot lane would kind of shift depending on what was in meta. So it was a lot of times it was Ascent on the Mordekaiser, but you're going to get your wish, Jolly. It is going to be Ascent on that Malphite and Mordekaiser up in the top lane for Red Hot. So a little bit of a comp change, but of course all eyes going to be on Ethug. With that goes with the Smite and on the Hecarim, and of course, as we know, he's going to build that to be about as squishy of a horse as you can find. And unfortunately for Ethug this time, he's not going to have the Kindred ult to help him out alive because that death count probably should have been 3 or 4 higher on any other champion if Game 2 goes the same way for Ethug.
I do like the fact, though, that they've got that tankiness maintained, though, by the top and the mid lane there. The Mordekaiser and the Malphite are going to offer enough, I think, that Hecarim is going to be able to kind of go in heavily, and then hopefully the aggro is adjusted to whoever's lower in terms of health, generally the one that you're helping to gank into. We'll see if Boise State decides to actually push forward with this, as 3 members of Wildcard Gaming are going to interfere here in the jungle.
Looks like we're going to have a Smite battle over this blue buff. Ethug waiting there for it to drop below the Smite threshold. Nice 3-man taunt is going to land from Dean. Boise State's going to get first blood and the blue buff, and now they're going to go chasing. As Ghostly Cat has gone down, Manui just barely going to land the root. Flash comes out from Ascent. Meanwhile, Red Hots does have the Conqueror proc, but unfortunately, he's just going to be taken out by Porsche. So Boise State's going to trade 1 for 1. Advantage in the jungle, but top lane not going in Boise State's favor.
It'll turn that way. We have seen Red Hots play a little bit aggressively to start things out, but Ethug has the opportunity to really invade wherever he wants as that Hecarim. As I mentioned, having the high mobility, Goblin getting rooted down there. No follow through though from Wildcard Gaming. So just knowing how well Dean does on this Galio as well, and knowing these flex picks are very, very solid ones that Boise State has utilized for the last season and a half, 2 seasons, I have good confidence that they'll get this early game pressure, because the fear here is that you get to much later game and you've got good late game on both sides, but Boise State does have a bit less in the overall, I would say, the wild card at the moment.
Yeah, you also see Manui playing that sort of support ADC Senna, grabbing the support item, going to let Yasin get all of the CS on that Seraphine, increase the rate of which those souls will spawn. So less upfront gold for Manui, but definitely more back-end damage the later and later the game goes, because he'll come out of laning phase with a lot more souls than if he was the main source of CS. So sort of that feast or famine Senna that we used to see a lot when she was first introduced, and Riot tried to scale back her 80 carry play, but still seeing some play here and there. And for Boise State, you see a lot of the pressure's got to be on Ethug. He's got that huge lead in the jungle, level 4 to level 2. Of course, with Ghostly Cat being taken down in that level 1 engagement. So how often can he push that advantage? Going to be huge for Boise State.
Remember, very low here, but is getting a Ghostly Cat interference. Ascent immediately saw that coming, though, was able to back out, no problem. Had just teleported back to lane. The last thing you want is to burn that teleport and then immediately get taken down and have to walk a shame back.
Ethug's going to jump on to Ghostly Cat. Conqueror going to proc for both of them. Unfortunately for Boise State, Remember's going to make the rotation over. Ascent will not. Boise State's also going to lose Goblin in the bot lane. An ICC chain there going to come out from the double root. One from Manui, one from Yasin, and there's not much Goblin can do even with the flash available. And the Broncos, just like that, see their lead evaporate very quickly.
I think Remember is going to have to be a focus now for Ethug. They need to help out Ascent here, because that's the early damage spike that Boise State kind of has an advantage over in some of these other lanes. Start things out. That Wildcard Gaming has in that advantage. We'll have to see, though, how things turn out in this top lane. Even though Red Hots did die early on, we can see that he's now back through. He's regained pressure. That should be a much easier lane than a Malphite Gen is a losing lane for the Malphite. Things are much more difficult. But for Red Hots on that Mordekaiser, we've seen just how effective things become once you get an item or two. And we know eventually he will get there. Wildcard has a slight lead, though. We're going to see what they can do with that exactly. Remember, currently on this red buff, but there's a lot of take on this top and this mid lane here for Boise State. It's going to make it a little bit difficult for these guys.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for Boise State is going to be with that Shen getting that early kill onto Red Hots. I mean, Red Hots has done a good job evening up the CS. Is that the classic Shen dilemma is he's going to stand United out of lane, then he's going to teleport back into lane, and Red Hots isn't going to be able to push at all because Red Hots has already used that teleport. So Boise State always, as soon as Porsche hits level 6, which he does right on cue, has to be assuming that anytime Wildcard Gaming engages, a Shen is going to be right behind it.
I can see, yeah, clearly Shen is scarier at early levels than you think. Also scarier than Red Hots had thought, given the 0-1 and 0-1v1. It is a surprise a lot of time. But once you get to 4, 5, 6, between them, I guess 5 and 6 closer, Red Hots will take that advantage over. And Porsche, we're going to see a lot of more in the other lanes, utilizing the teleport and the stand united to try to assist and probably in the long run feeding this bottom lane who's already pretty comfortable.
Yeah, we do see that the teleport was used by Porsche to get back to lanes. He's not going to have that in combination with the stand united. Goblin not able to follow up Dean, who missed the taunt there. We do see a lot of rotation down around this dragon. Boise State has no way for Red Hots to get there besides walking. Porsche can just appear in the fight on the stand united. The Red Hots does have a little bit of a way to interrupt him with the E. As we see, fight's going to break out. Dean's going to get Rudy, will get stunned as well. Dragon's going to go in the favor of Wildcard Gaming, and they're also going to lose 2 members in the process, as E-Thug and Goblin both going to pick up a kill. Trying to chase down Yasin there as well. E-Thug has his sight set on that Seraphine, going to try and flash away. Nice exhaust going to come out as well. E-Thug tries to smite for some extra HP. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get in range using the E, and now he might have over-pursued, and that's going to give a free kill away. Boys, they probably could have just backed off when Ghostly Cat and Yasin made it to the tower.
Very close, but absolutely not worth it there. E-Thug losing his life. 2-2-1 now, so half of the team's deaths right now. You mentioned that, Fish, before things started, how dangerous it is to go in so heavily with someone that is much squishier than a lot of those heavy commit champs. Now, Red Hots is getting hopped on here by Portia.
It does look like in the team fight that Portia did use the Stand United, so good job by Red Hots canceling that, allowing it to remain a 4-on-4, and Boise State was able to pick up 2 kills, did lose the Dragon, and then ended up losing E-Thug, so all-around trade that probably still stays in the favor of Wildcard Gaming. We do see Manui starting to get a couple of those CS, waiting for Yas to get back to lane, playing the Soul version of Senna, where he's going to let his support get most of the CC. Nice root is going to land. Now Goblin's got to be careful, as Ghostly Cat has rotated down. Goblin in an awful position. He's going to try and do as much damage as he can. Can't even prevent Ghostly Cat from getting the assist, as that's not what you want to see if you're a Boise State fan.
That is not a place to be, absolutely not, especially when a third member decides to come down from above. Being pinched off between the enemy and your tower leaves you nowhere to go. And a bit of a staggered return back to base here. No, actually, it looks like Dean is deciding to go help out towards Shelly anyway. And we can see now the ping's coming out as there is some vision there placed down by Wildcard Gaming. They acknowledge E-Thug is on the way up. Portia is going to keep things nice and steady here. We'll see if Boise State does actually decide to commit to Shelly there, as Kaisa Goblin is currently solo in that bottom lane, pushed hard.
Great little combination there from Dean and Ascent, the unstoppable force right into the taunt. Not a whole lot Remember was going to be able to do to get out of that one. Did have an interesting ult there by Red Hots on Portia, just maybe trying to chip some damage down. Didn't actually end up getting him too low. But as we've seen in game before, Goblin in that 1v2, probably not too worried as long as he doesn't get hit by a root from Yasin or Manui, because if he gets hit by one, he's probably going to get hit by a second and might die. So Goblin going to be forced to play this lane very passively.
Just a very slight gold lead as well in favor of Wildcard Gaming right now. That 1 kill is helpful. And no plates taken down. Oh, no, there are the 2 plates. So Wildcard has gotten those 2 when Goblin was shoved back, when D decided to move up towards that Rift Herald play. So I think that will be important where E-Thug decides to commit that. I have a feeling that the mid lane is going to provide a lot of really good pressure based on, again, the fact that Remember is running that Victor is going to be a high damage, but also a very squishy champion. A lot of easy pressure to be had there, and they want to make something happen before the plates go down. Obtain as many of those as possible. Get the early gold lead that their team needs.
Yeah, we see the Triforce completed on E-Thug, sticking to that damage variant of any champion he plays, trying to be aggressive as possible. As you mentioned, does have the Rift Herald available for some free plates, a pair of free plates for wherever lane he wants to place it in. Nowhere really in danger of getting that first tower combo that we've seen, where you get to 2.5 and Shelly will just immediately crush through it. But it does look like, as you said, Jolly, he's setting up around that mid lane. Wants to try and find Remember here. He has been found out. You can see the ping spamming him. Has to be careful that Manui and Yasin do not rotate over. Does look like, I don't think Wildcard Gaming knew that he's right here. Taunt's not going to land. Goblin's going to dash in. E-Thug's there, so is Red Hots as well. Ghostly Cat's going to pick up the first kill. Hero's entrance going to be used to disrupt the team fight. Boise State gets one back. Manui dropping low, does not get enough healing from the Q. Ghostly Cat trying to find E-Thug, not going to be the case. Boise State goes 3 for 1. Got to be careful with Remember rotating down. This could be an easy pick, or it could be an easy kill or 2 for the victor, so Boise State will disengage.
Very good move there by Boise State. Fantastic teleport coming down from Red Hots. Quick commitment. I mean, that started out as it just felt like a simple 2v2, and all of a sudden everybody showed up there. Boise State things got a little scary there with Ghostly Cat moving in, but my goodness, E-Thug's ultimate blasting through was fantastic. And that's going to get them some of those plates that Boise State has wanted. Still 2 minutes left, and they might even be able to find a first tower before plates fall, depending on how far they push this mid lane. In the meantime, though, E-Thug and Red Hots are going to snag this Ocean Dragon, no problem. That's going to be one aside here, and just barely putting the gold into Boise State's favor.
Cloud Soul going to be on the map for the rest of the game. I'm sure something both teams would love to have for that Stand United unstoppable force, bringing down the cooldown. Meanwhile, Goblin was stuck trying to prevent Porsche from pushing. Now he has Ghostly Cat who's going to jump on him. Undertow is going to miss, so Goblin now can turn around the fight. Porsche is there as well, and Boise State going to smartly disengage as no one's there for the follow-up, and a good job by Goblin just trying to keep that tower alive. There's the root and a stun onto Ascent, but Malphite tanky enough to absorb all of that damage. E-Thug doesn't have a window of opportunity, so Boise State will walk back. They got the Dragon, they got a couple of plates, and as you mentioned, Jolly, set themselves up for maybe first tower in that mid lane with only one plate left.
That was an interesting move, but a very smart one there, I would say, by Wildcard Gaming, deciding not to fully commit on that as they saw E-Thug pop his head up around, and now they are going to manage to find that ward. Oh, maybe not. The ward that helped them out there. Mordekaiser might be the next target as the majority of Wildcard Gaming is up on that top side. Seraphine going to hold down the fort in the mid lane, and some other lane adjustments as we can see Remember moving down.
Still has the ultimate available for Red Hots. Looks like he's going to hold on to it. Surprising. Thought maybe he could ult the Shen and at least get that one kill, but a great rotation by Wildcard Gaming, by Manui and Ghostly Cat, able to stop the push of Red Hots. Boise State not quite enough damage to pick up that last plate in the mid. Wait for it to fall so the armor of the turrets are reduced. But Boise State still sitting in a pretty decent spot. Gold lead just barely in their favor. Kills tied at 7 aside, and CS, for the most part, pretty even across the board. Of course, Senna at 12 because he let Yasin pick up most of that early CS for the easy souls.
Boise State feeling pretty confident on this next engage, though. E-Thug decided to go in and then immediately disengage.
Yeah, unfortunately, E-Thug's ult did not land onto anybody. Wasn't able to get that fear, so could not set up Dean with the easy follow-up Justice Punch in for the taunt. So Boise State just going to have to disengage once again. Totally okay, though, as we said, they have that slight gold lead. Actually, the gold lead has rotated in the favor of Wildcard Gaming, who are actually able to pick up that first turret on the top side, but very, very close, only 200 gold difference. So Boise State just setting up, going to wait for E-Thug's ultimate to come back, and I'm sure they'll try and combo that with something like the Unstoppable Force from Ascent.
It has not felt like an insane game. 14 kills so far. It looks like we're going to get more right here.
Now, unfortunately, Unstoppable Force just absolutely misses. Going to leave Dean and Ascent in just an awful, unrecoverable spot for them. Nothing E-Thug could do without his ultimate as well. And Boise State tried to set up the Wombo combo, but unfortunately, there was no Wombo as it whiffs. And Boise State's going to give up this mid-turret as well.
That gold lead slowly swaying in Wildcard Gaming's favor. You can see that Boise State has some really solid deep vision there, so at least trying to keep an eye on Ghostly Cat, who has been very impactful so far on many of these engages, and especially with the rotations that we've already been seeing from these players. Boise State wants to keep a good eye. They want to be the ones that are playing proactively in terms of aggressing on the enemies in their own jungle generally. But Boise State has a lot of opportunity here to turn things around once we get back to the team fight stage. I say back to because it's felt like that has been the second half of this 15 minutes majority team fight. We've got a lot of later game potential.
E-Thug's going to hop right on to Ghostly Cat. Ragnarok as well as the hero's entrance. Stand United brought out as well. Ghostly Cat just barely staying alive. Taunt's going to land on the Goblin. He's going to be taken out. E-Thug will go down as well, and what looked like a great 1v1 pick opportunity for Boise State quickly goes awry thanks to the global ult from Wildcard Gaming.
And this is working out quite well in terms of the bottom lane here from Manui and Yasin for Wildcard Gaming. That has been a lot of the focus really today in both teams that we have seen Boise State go up against. Red Hots getting caught out, not getting hit by that Echo Key, interestingly enough. There's another hitbox question mark that I'm going to ping up here. Red Hots maybe just trying to encourage or entice something out of Wildcard Gaming here. Why though?
He had used the ultimate onto Ghostly Cat, I think, just to try and survive. Unfortunately, there is a capped range on how far away the Mordekaiser can run, and Red Hot just waiting for it to fall. And a good job by Wildcard Gaming preparing for that and absolutely picking him off as soon as that faded. So once again, another great job. Really feels like Wildcard Gaming is using Boise State's aggression and then flipping it on them. The Broncos try and take these 1v1s, and then somehow the rest of Wildcard Gaming is there in just the nick of time.
And also, Wildcard Gaming, not a fan of the Kaisa there on Goblin, ensuring the Goblin has no chance. Sitting at 1, 4, and 5 right now. So much focus from Wildcard on keeping that Kaisa shut down, not allowing her to get an earlier spike than she needs to, because once she gets a couple items, she will be powerful.
Oh, yeah.
But the farther back you put her, the longer it takes her to get to that 2-stack, and the more pressure Wildcard Gaming could put on, as well as the more gold they can just accumulate in general. And now there are 2 towers up here. It is only about a 3k difference, so not huge still. Boise State can't quite let this falter.
Just the Dragon picked up there by Wildcard Gaming. Their first Cloud Drake, second overall, working towards that Cloud Soul. Going to use some of that cooldown reduction. Boise State will trade it off, though. They'll pick up their second Rift Herald of the game. Loses a little bit of its value once the turret platings do fall, but should be enough for Boise State maybe to pick up some decent damage onto that bot lane tier, or the top lane tier 2 tower. They could get the mid tower if they really wanted to, though it feels like it might be a waste of a charge. We'll have to see where exactly E-Thug wants to drop that.
This has been a bit. Okay, I was gonna say right before a fight broke out that 12-7 that's plenty of kills. That is 19 kills on board. Yet it still kind of felt anticlimactic in a sense. Less fights than we're used to. Maybe it's just because they're much more scattered than we have come to know from Boise State. Very picky about beginning fights or fully committing to fights generally. And neither team has felt really fully in control up at this point.
Yeah, I do think that E-Thug's done a good job of trying to maintain his aggression and keep it in check as that 3-3 mark. Barely surviving, by the way, the perfect stop so that Manui cannot land the ultimate. Unfortunately, that is going to make Boise State down a jungler, going to have to give over that blue buff for free. Now, Red Hot's going to try and put some damage out. He'll find Ghostly Cat in that brush, and Boise State probably can't take this fight. E-Thug trying to gallop back in, but still a pretty far way away.
Now, almost 20 minutes into this game, and even though there are 4 towers down, there has not been a lot of pressure supplied to either side. Boise State facing down 2 towers, 2 shorter towers, 2 lower towers, 2 less towers, words, 2 less towers than Wildcard Gaming. And they're still managing to keep it essentially at 50-50, not pushing beyond their fallen tower, trying to make sure the Wildcard Gaming is going to consistently have to go back to those lanes and reinforce that lead.
Great play there by Ascent, trying to flash in range of the unstoppable force, but a great flash away by Manui to make sure he did not get hit in that. Going to use that Rift Herald just to be able to pick up that remaining health bar on that tier 1 mid lane tower. An interesting decision, and now Red Hot's going to find himself in a very unfortunate position, going to all Porsche. Now it's not going to help as Ghostly Cat's still in the area. You can see the rest of Boise State rotating down. Hero's Entrance going to come out as soon as the Death Realm fades, and Porsche going to get knocked up. Taunted, and Boise State should have themselves an easy kill. So great job by Red Hot buying himself time, and this time it's Boise State who rotates over faster than Wildcard Gaming to pick up a kill.
Red Hot's now getting some good focus on this bottom turret, trying to even things out as Boise State is 2-3 in that sense. They need to get a little bit of control towards this bottom side as well, ensure that if another dragon pops up, they have a good opportunity to go up against Wildcard Gaming here. I'm curious as to the builds here for this let's see, this Mordekaiser who ended up taking Conquer. So relatively standard, nothing crazy going into the Shen there. That was something that I wanted to look at actually a little bit earlier in the game. And Red Hot's recovering well. I will say that. We were a little worried. Red Hot's giving up that early kill in the 1v1 versus Porsche. That Stand United has not come into play as many times as I thought. It's these scattered fights. This feels like so long into the game. At this point, I am so used to just straight on 5v5s. Just focus of a team moving together as a team and heading towards objective together. And it's 21 minutes. We normally see it at 8 minutes into the game with Boise State. It's now 22 minutes into this game, and we still have individual lane pushes and this scattered fighting, and I'm not sure if it's good for either team, really. It's just very slow for both of them.
I think Wildcard Gaming has done a really excellent job of neutralizing what eThug can do in the 1v1. When he has tried to take a 1v1, you've either gone into an Olaf, who is like the 1v1 king, or Wildcard Gaming has been right around the corner. So I do think they've kind of learned that their secret was, hey, eThug was just soloing people last game. Let's just not let eThug solo anybody, and we'll do a really good job trying to land a root onto Goblin. He is able to get away to safety. And as you mentioned, it does feel like it is more of a methodical game here in Jolly, and not a lot of fights breaking out. I mean, we have another objective coming up. Would be the third dragon of the game for Wildcard Gaming. If there's a time for Boise State to fight, this would probably be it, because right now, I do think the longer game favors Wildcard Gaming, because when you have a Malphite mid, you lose a solid source of AP damage, and right as the fight breaks out, eThug going to be just annihilated. Charm's going to land right into a stun onto Dean, into a root. The CC layering was perfect for Wildcard Gaming. There's not a whole lot Boise State could do. Red Hot's the last remaining hope. Going to try and 1v1 down Remember in the Death Realm. Stopwatch going to come out, and as soon as it fades, it is an ace for Wildcard Gaming. They're going to hop right onto this dragon. Or maybe even Baron.
A clean ace. They can probably snag this dragon with 1 or 2 members and have the remainder go back there. You do have 20 seconds. Dean is going to be the next one up in 8, so not a ton of opportunity to head in. And eThug does have that ghost, so there is the possibility that Boise State can run in as quickly as possible and try to do something. There's not an immense amount of damage on Wildcard Gaming to where they can tear down this Baron as quickly as Boise State was able to do with something like Kindred. And yeah, they're actually just going to give that one up. I do kind of think that was a misplay. They took the dragon instead. They thought they could get both, but they didn't. They did know that Boise State has the opportunity. eThug being up quickly and has Smite available, so they're going to abandon that one and hopefully try to start a fight around that Baron pit a little bit later on.
eThug going to try and take down Remember, who stayed a little bit too long. Stand United came out, but the shield was not enough. A double stun should be enough to keep Portia alive. Ragnarok has been popped here by Ghostly Cat, going to make him unstoppable. Huge heal going to come out from Manui and from Yacid. And just like that, now Boise State's got to be careful. They don't want to get this fight turned on them in a hurry. But a good job by eThug using that mobility not to steal the Baron like we maybe thought, but be able to get a huge pick on to Remember. Dean tried for the big taunt, actually going to get burst down. A taunt of their own is going to come out from Wildcard Gaming. Ascent, the first one to fall. Red Hots will follow in short order. Goblin in on the back line will get evaporated. It's just eThug left on the map and a very, very low health Dean. We'll see if they have a steal left in him, but with no blast cone available, eThug's going to have to take the long way with no ult and no flash.
And it does look like he's committing to the recall there. Doesn't want to involve himself in that. No flash available. And Wildcard Gaming, I guess, we thought maybe that was a misplay when they decided to pick up the dragon, but it appears that was not the case. And I did follow it up with hopefully they're going to try to start a fight around that Baron pit. I did not think it was going to come that quickly, and I did not think it was going to be that successful for them. It's now a 7K gold lead is in favor of Wildcard Gaming. They were up 11 kills at this point, 2 dragons, 1 tower, feeling very good going into this, considering Boise State also took that first game. And they may, though, have the fear that the same thing will happen because Boise State was faltering a good portion of that game. And then they managed to pick it up, pushing that game out to close to 50 minutes.
Yeah, this time the gold lead a little bit more in the favor of Wildcard Gaming. Game 1 definitely felt a little bit more back and forth. This has felt like Wildcard Gaming has, for the most part, been in control and been really ready for these Boise State Wombo combos that they tried to draft around Red Hots. Just going to be absolutely annihilated, caught up in a root. Manui's going to try and give the speed boost to his entire team. Yasin's ult not going to find anything, and this should be a free Tier 2 mid lane. His last-ditch effort for Boise State, Unstoppable Force, plus the hero's entrance. eThug going to dash in as well. He'll pick up Remember. Manui brought down, but now Boise State losing a couple members as Yasin going to take down Goblin. The health bars are low, and Boise State holds on. They'll trade 1 for 2, and it's just enough to slow down this push from Wildcard Gaming.
Wildcard Gaming does still have 3 Baron buffs secured, though, and is on some pretty solid members, tanky and high mobility. There we can see Ethug. Very high mobility himself, so going to be able to get out of that one no problem. Send Wildcard Gaming on a little bit of a chase there in the jungle, but now Wildcard Gaming has pretty solid map control as well as that objective and gold control here. Boise State forced on this bottom tower to just prevent the minions from pushing forward, and that was not even Baron empowered minions on that bottom lane. It was just pressure the Wildcard Gaming has been able to maintain due to the fact that they have so many more towers at this point over Boise State.
They see 5 towers to 2. Couple of options here if Wildcard Gaming is able to win a fight. They have that bot lane as you were talking about. They also have the mid lane where it is all the way pushed down into that mid inhibitor turret. So Boise State definitely in a familiar spot as game 1 where they probably can't afford to lose another fight, but this time they are fighting a much bigger uphill battle. Wildcard Gaming's gold lead is ballooned to 7K, twice as many kills, and it really is going to be difficult for Boise State right now to find a way to pick Wildcard Gaming, and looks like they're going to try for a death push here.
See if it's a waste of time. Nobody from Wildcard Gaming is around. We just had a recall there. 3 members back in base, so they're quick to acknowledge that. Boise State immediately moves out of that. Oh, no, they're not. They're going to use the Kaisa as bait here for finally the members of Wildcard Gaming making their way up, and we can actually see the pinks coming out that they are moving towards that mid lane. They're going to mark here. Kaisa acknowledging she's going to move back and try to pull these guys forward, and there it is.
Yeah, we even saw the blue pink come out. They knew they were there, but it still did not matter. Stopwatch has come out. Ethug's going to pick up 1. Unfortunately, Remember's going to make sure Boise State remembers his name. It's a triple kill for him. It's an ace for Wildcard Gaming, and that should probably do it for... Actually, never mind. It's not an ace. Red Hot's still alive, but he's running for the hills, and I still think Wildcard Gaming can wrap this one up.
Yeah, they likely can. Pretty solid gold lead. Not quite what Boise State was facing down at the end of last game, but it did get a considerable amount farther in terms of time. Boise State took a lot longer to close things out. Wildcard Gaming, again, I do feel had the opportunity, honestly, at a point during that first game to close it. Might have actually sealed the deal here, but Red Hot's now going to get soloed out. Be pulled back by Manui here, so that distraction's going to work well for Wildcard Gaming.
Yeah, unfortunately, Red Hot Knight will pull the triple kill clutch that Ethug was able to. Inhibitor's going to go down, or Nexus going to go down before the respawns fully come in for Boise State to contest. And just like that, Wildcard Gaming is going to be able to force us to a game number 3 in week 1 of the 2021 Upsurge League between these two teams in the Baron Division. Of course, Idaho Army National Guard is a huge supporter of Boise State Esports. They bring you the top plays that you see on a regular basis. For Boise State, they're hoping they can add to those top plays in game number 3. Idaho Army National Guard also challenges you to take your critical thinking skills to the next level with 10 jobs offering a 20K bonus and your degree of choice paid for. Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Get more information on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. So we're going to see if Boise State, can they add to the top plays? Can Wildcard Gaming maybe take control of our top 5 plays? We'll have to see, Jolly, heading into game 3. But I will say, feels like it was a full AP Malphite, which I can always respect. Wasn't the tankier Malphite we see Red Hot play. Still felt like Boise State had that wombo combo, but never killed anybody, and then everything just fell apart.
It was unfortunate to see that happen. And then we also saw, WCD, I'm not sure if that is theirs or their official here, Wildcard Dev. We saw them try to retaliate there. I think they're gonna give me a moment. I've been casting all day long. It's been a great set of games. Boise State has done a spectacular job, and I think big thing is these teams have held up much better than we expected.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where Game 3 takes us. We'll give everybody a quick break here, and we'll be back for Game 3 between Boise State and Wildcard Gaming right after this break.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
legendary parts for legendary wins. Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
Hello and welcome back into our final match of the night here on what has been a very long evening. Now for Boise State League of Legends, we already saw them with a 3-game series against Wyoming, and now they're being pushed to the limits once again as we're heading to Game 3 against Wildcard Gaming, who took Boise State down relatively quickly. Still a 30-minute game, but compared to game number 1, it was much faster as they were able to win and force us to a game number 3. Baratel now joining us to call all of the action here for the final game, and it's been quite a grind for Boise State, and it really feels like Wildcard Gaming might have figured things out there in game number 2.
Yeah, I've been promoted to being here on the casting desk with you, and it looks like, of course, they're also able to upgrade their gameplay a little bit, get themselves to a place where they not only had the ability to contend with Boise State, but immediately ran over once they started to figure out their edge.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of learned the Boise State wombo combo. I mean, it's a combo that we saw Boise State run with the Malphite and the Mordekaiser and the Hecarim a lot last year, and it really just wasn't there. I mean, they'd land it, it wouldn't quite do enough damage. After the stopwatches would fade, everything would just fall apart. So I'll be really curious if we get back to, hey, Ethug, take the Kindred, just go crazy, or how they want to handle game number 3. Because right now for Boise State, if Ethug falls behind, it seems to be this team's going to fall behind with him because he just can't make those solo plays and shut down the enemy jungler like Boise State sometimes needs.
Yeah, and we were kind of criticizing in our Twitch chat watching the game that both drafts were phenomenal. But again, as we can see here, it's just a matter of responding to things with a little bit more haste. And of course, yeah, it looked really promising for Boise State, although this is a play from behind. Managed to get themselves a fair set of kills, nice shutdown as well. And double kill goes over to, of course, the top lane. But I feel like that amount of gold going over to Red Hots was just to keep him at a level playing field against that Shen.
Yeah, I think the only criticism I would really have had with that draft is playing into a Senna. You know you're never really going to be able to get in range of her, especially with the Graceful Augment, and playing basically 4 melee and a Kaisa. You're never going to be able to catch Manui, who was playing that Souls build, so he was even building for late game. So they needed that, just find a way to be able to hop onto him, something like a Kindred, something else. I just think the 4 melee comp just probably didn't do things for Boise State, and it was also, as you said, great response, because there were times Ethug had what he thought was a 1v1, and that quickly turned into a 1v3, and he would either have to run away or he would go back to the fountain with a gray screen.
Yeah, and it kind of just boils down to not only the criticism of having the Malphite mid, not really something that we see Ascent on. I think more prevalent if you want to compare apples to oranges. Red Dots is a little bit more of a proficient Malphite player. Instead, maybe drafting another global utility, kind of join the fight at necessary points. Champion, like maybe like a Pantheon or anyone, like maybe a Twisted Fate even mid lane would have been more beneficial for them in that draft.
Yeah, they just needed some kind of oomph. They needed some kind of ranged help for Goblin, because as soon as all 4 melee guys went in, they immediately just fell right into the gravity well from the Victor, the Senna AoE damage, and it was just nothing they could do. But Game 3 is right around the corner here. I definitely think Boise State can find a way to pull this one off, and I think a lot of emphasis, as we see every time for Boise State since Ethug's joined the team, on what Ethug's going to be put on. So we're going to head over to draft. Bear, tell you've been promoted, but you also get to keep your other job. You're going to hang out with Glovely.
I got to go to the desk real quick.
Yeah, you go make sure you make it there in time. Let's head it over to Glovely and Baratel for the Game 3 draft, and Baratel and I will be back for Game number 3.
Oh, did I make it in time? Oh, it's across the whole state.
Yeah, you just in time.
Goodness
We're ready
gracious.
to start talking about this draft. So previous draft, obviously, that Olaf was really big. I wouldn't be surprised to see Boise State consider banning it away. We're into picks and bans. A lot of champions already showing themselves to be big threats. Kane, though, still going to be that first ban here.
And again, with how we've talked about how well these kind of champions have already suffered from being not taken down without grievous wounds, Kane being one that can really emphasize the power of that Gore Drinker, a fantastic pick. But this time I think we're seeing a hero banned away from Wildcard Gaming, which is, I think, the odd choice, if anything. Rumble as well going to be taken away.
Rumble, of course, we all knew it was coming. Like,
Yeah, it's inevitable.
We can dream that someday Ascent will get to play this Rumble and show everybody what he can do, but once more, everybody continues to make the same old choice of taking away the Rumble. Sad.
I mean, we'll see. And it's crazy because when it comes down to it, it's really just, like, I can't imagine playing against someone that plays Rumble this much, because the way that Ascent uses this champion is in such a unique and kind of giga-brain way. Might be the same reason why Boise State keeps banning the Gangplank.
Well, bans looking pretty much the same so far. Kindred going to be the second ban up against Boise State. That's no wonder. Ethug did an incredible job on it in that first game. Don't want to give him that opportunity. Boise State final ban available to them. Will they stop that Olaf from coming through? Or do they feel confident they've come with a counterpick? There's a Zoe there. That's going to be the third ban. So they must have a plan in mind for this Olaf if they're letting him through.
Yeah, and they could be entertaining the idea, maybe first picking Seraphine as well. Just like Wildcard Gaming did, it was such a unique pick, and it was one that, rarely sees play because it is banned so frequently. But it's possible to have a huge amount of power in these teams.
Definitely, and it's going to be Seraphine going to be the last ban. So, now this leaves Boise State open to pick whoever they want. Olaf was, of course, on the board. Lilia is still available. Graves, hilariously, has now made it through the draft after being banned every single game we've had tonight so far, but is now available. Certainly a lot of powerful champions. Kaisa is still available. Very good AD carry. Ethug's Nidalee, definitely a strong champion. It is going to end up being the Graves finally slipping through.
And you're not surprised to see it at all because, again, Ethug being the player that they are, they want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward. I would even not be surprised that this is the typical kind of Smite Ignite combo that Ethug loves to run on this champion, just to give himself the extra oomph and dueling power. Because, again, as we mentioned, he was a mere a couple hundred HP maybe from getting those secured 1v1s before Wildcard Gaming could reinforce the fight. Maybe with that Ignite edge, he might be able to get the kill before there's anyone to entertain a pressure challenge.
So I think Lily is a very interesting choice here, especially when you did have the Olaf on the table. Graves has a very strong early game, very strong first clear. If he gets into the jungle and finds the Lilia, he blows her up very quickly in those early fights. So interesting choosing the Lilia into the Graves, knowing that was a possibility, especially when that Olaf, who dominated so hard in the previous game, was still available.
And the Lucian coming out again. Lucian, Lilia, nice combo. I mean, Lucian can get themselves into a place where they can maybe capitalize on the lullaby or just a slow there from the seed, but we'll have to see if there's a little bit more synergy maybe Wildcard Gaming has up their sleeve here for this.
Definitely a very good bully. Seta is going to be taken off the field by Boise State. That's going to provide them with some additional healing, some good range, some good crowd control. Overall, very strong champion. There's a reason she's remained in the meta since her release.
Just a high amount of utility and scaling, and Karma seeing the fields of justice as well. Now, as much as people would kind of jump on the bandwagon for where these champions are going, we're almost assured that Graves is going into the jungle role. But these other two, because we're playing Boise State here, we have no idea. This could be Karma mid. We have even seen Karma top to some extent on some of these Boise State rosters, so that one's unsure. And then, of course, Senna can flex into that support or the ADC role as well.
One thing we definitely should consider is that Moonstone Renewer is a great item on a lot of supports, and it's definitely one that Karma and Senna are both capable of using. It is going to be Nautilus picked up by the side of Wildcard Gaming. Great champion there overall. Great at punishing the Senna, who doesn't really have much in terms of ways to protect herself. If she gets hit by a dredge line, odds are good she's going to go down.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? The biggest counter to Senna is basically getting to her faster than she can get herself away. Any hook champion, Blitzcrank, Thresh, Nautilus, as we're seeing here, great ideas to pick them up because as soon as you get in her shroud, you can see her and abuse her for being immobile. The Oran Band will be taken away from the Boise State side of things, and a great pickup as well because as we can clearly see, if Boise State can get themselves to that power spike with the masterwork items, that could be the edge they need to start turning the wins in their favor.
On top of that, it would also give Boise State the tank champion they desperately lack. Lux is going to be banned away, not a big surprise. It had a great impact in that game one. Lots of range, lots of lockdown, and the ability to shield your whole team.
Now, I wonder if we're going to see the Victor again, because I think Victor, the Gravity Well, in addition to the Lullaby, like a fantastic production crew, by the way, making us look good. And for me specifically, it's very hard to do so. They're actually going to take away the Galio from the support role, which then kind of makes the flex a little bit more forced. And I think that's a wise choice because if you take away Galio, something that, of course, Dean has been very comfortable on and showing that he's doing very well with the amount of practice he has, it's a great idea here for the side of Wildcard Gaming.
That's true, and they're also taking away a strong potential mid lane pick. Victor going to be banned away, so that's another mid lane pick off the field. Neither side guaranteed has a mid laner yet. They do have potential. We could go with Karma or Lucian on either side, but mid laners
And we also
still
can see the
available.
Karma, the Nautilus mid as well, which is interesting. I do wonder if we've seen Annie floated and flirted with before. I don't think that either of these mid laners are going to entertain an assassin. Perhaps maybe we'll see a Zir. I know that doesn't really have a lot of strength in the meta with the items, but there's a Syndra, and that is a scary champion for the likes of Graves.
Definitely, really great at pulling away those camps to just drag them away from opposing junglers, secure it for your own team. Also great if someone happens to try counter jungling you. Of course, the downside to that is it means you end up taking W at level 1 instead of your Q, and then you have to wait even longer for your stuns. So there are some dangers with it, but you can definitely pull some cheesy things off if you're willing to run the Syndra.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because a lot of people don't understand the reason why Lux did so much damage there in that first game was because this Lily amplifies the first damage taken after being put to sleep. Syndra, she's got an ultimate that does a bunch of damage.
Okay, one thing I'm worried about, Renekton is just going to be locked in there for Boise State. He's been having a rough time in that top lane, poor Red Hots, with that Renekton. Been ending up in a lot of very difficult matchups. Very strong early game champion, great at bullying, but if he doesn't get that bullying, if he doesn't get ahead in the late game, he has this tendency to fall off, even when he tries to build tank to absorb damage for his team, even when he tries to build raw damage, he just doesn't scale very well. He's very reliant on that early game to get him ahead.
Yeah. And the reason you pick Renekton here in top lane is when you have a jungler that wants to be aggressive. Nidalee, Lilia, Graves for some instance, because Smokescreen enables so much ability to dive. Those two in tandem can make any 2v2, like as a response gank, a very favorable matchup for Renekton and Graves as a combo. Although we don't know who's going to be top lane, that could just completely get topsy-turvied here.
Indeed, and with the Maokai has a lot of versatility, top lane, bot lane. As a support, he was actually nerfed in the recent patch because he was just doing so much damage with those saplings from the AP scaling. So they reduced that AP scaling, so he's not necessarily as terrifying as he used to be. Still a very viable champion in that role. I genuinely don't know where these champions are going. For all I know, it could be Renekton.
It could be, and we have seen that sometimes kind of as a flavor pick. We see it sometimes in the LCK, but I don't think it works too well against Lissandra. or sorry, Syndra here. Sorry, Camille got me all topsy-turvy as well. That is a very volatile top lane, and I think it almost boils down to 100% skill matchup here for who wins out on the Renekton versus Camille matchup.
Yeah, Camille is definitely a very powerful champion, especially in the current meta as it is right now. I've heard a lot of other top laners complaining about her. I think that she's really good in matchups where you don't have a lot of hybridized damage, especially against opponents who can't sustain themselves for super long periods of time, because she's got this great ability to get in, throw some burst on you and back away. So at this point, like, Renekton, if he plays the early game well, does have a lot of potential.
And we look at this team just in general. I mean, you have Wildcard Gaming going for that kind of pick style, and again, Boise State really sticking to their guns, trying to get for that 5v5 team fight as much as they can. But again, we'll have to see here in just a few moments how the action unfolds, as I will be running back to the casting desk with Fish. Oh, I've teleported. Ninjutsu complete. I've finished my training.
You have ascended officially, Baratel. We'll see if Boise State can join you in that ascension. I've got to say, I mean, I don't think we really know what's going on with the draft. I'm not a huge fan of it at all. I think it might be something of an inverse of what we saw. It could be a set of support with maybe Goblin on the Karma. We'll have to see. That might be something. Allow that Karma that you, of course, love so much, Baratel, to be fed and can do a sneaky amount of damage and have some shields. But it is Game 3 of the Upsurge Premier League. Week number 1 in the Baron Division. Boise State and Wildcard Gaming. Winner goes to 1-0. Loser falls to 0-1. And here we go.
He called it.
It's Red Hots on the Renekton. It's Ascent on the Maokai. Goblin on the Karma. Dean on the Senna. It's almost like I know what I'm talking about. And still, I'm very, very, very scared for Boise State.
We just saw Ascent struggle so hard against a heavy-ranged mid laner. I'm so interested why they decided to run it back with this Maokai, because unfortunately for Maokai, he has an even harder time getting in than Malphite.
Yeah, I guess the logic will be just a little bit better sustained than the Malphite. A little bit of a maybe easier time heading into lane, but when I start to look across the board, you know, unless Red Hots has his best game of the night, this is set up to be Ethug's got to be 35-0 game, because it's just all of the damage is going to come from him. Maybe Dean builds some sort of cheeky support Senna damage build that we saw when she was first released. But to me, this just feels like there's too much pressure on Ethug to be able to literally 1v5 with 4 meat shields standing in front of him.
Yeah, again, we kind of criticized the last draft for having one big source of damage, and now look at it. If Renekton's lane doesn't go the way it needs to, and Camille becomes a heavy threat, there's no one on Boise State's side of things that can challenge her 1v1.
I mean, I think Boise State is gonna do a really good job stalling this game out, and I think if there's anyone who can really put the team in the position they need to be, like Ethug, where seems clear we've drafted a comp around sustain the Ethug. I think it's doable for Boise State, but to put all of your eggs in one basket feels more of like maybe a Game 1 or a Game 2 plan, not a Game 3 plan where it's winner take all, but we'll have to see. A lot of pressure on Red Hots too, as you mentioned. If this lane doesn't go his way, that's where it all starts to collapse. If he can be a solid source of damage, then Boise State does have that backup threat. He's going to slice and dice in, but that shield that you talked about, just going to nullify a lot of that damage.
It is going to nullify so much damage, and it's a threat because, as Glovely mentioned, if you don't have hybridized damage sources, she's going to continue to get that physical shield on repeat. The problem with that is, as well, Camille's such a fantastic grab. We got a little action in the bottom lane, though.
I see an attempted gank from Ghostly Cat, but they're putting a lot of pressure on anything. I mean, we've already basically got to vertical jungling now.
And this is the crucial time for, I think, Ethug to show that this is the right pick, because despite having Renekton and Graves with physical damage, a nice hook here in the bottom lane. Barry will be popped. Root's going to come out as well. Ignite's going to be used, and the Guardian will be popped. That's an 8-second cooldown. And they get it for relative ease. Only one summoner traded for that.
And they've got to be careful for Boise State, because the hook can come out from Yasin at any moment. Very interesting to kind of copy the style of Wildcard Gaming, and the fact that it is going to be a Senna just trying to get all those souls, but in the support role where she was intended to be. And you put Goblin on someone like a Karma, who, if we talked about in the earlier portion of the broadcast today, Boise State likes this sort of setup where Goblin can 1v2 on a champion. Usually it's the Ash, but if there's a champion you can 1v2 on pretty easily, it is Karma. You have the shield, you have the leash. Should be able to survive the burst, but that's going to put a lot of pressure on Dean to make sure he's getting kills if he's leaving Goblin all alone in that 1v2 against the Nautilus.
And I think it's also something to note that Karma is arguably squishy, but because her W gives her so much health back and doesn't look like they have a tremendous amount of burst here on the bottom side for Wildcard Gaming, she's the perfect target to block those Nautilus hooks and keep Goblin, or to keep Dean safe while he continues to get these souls.
See, Red Hots now has lost the level advantage to Portia, so he will have to be careful. Also getting pushed to his tower once again. Have not seen E-Thug. Here is another attempt from Ghostly Cat. Gonna try and land the hook. They will land the root as well to Dean underneath the turret. The shielding should be enough. Root will land, but it's out of tower range. We got a teleport coming in as well for both Ascent and from Remember. So it's a full-out fight in the bot lane here. Looks like Goblin's dropping very low. It's going to be First Blood over to Ghostly Cat. Ascent trying to burst down Yasin. He will do it, but he'll trade his life. So it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Wildcard Gaming, and Boise State's just going to have to back away.
Yeah, it was an interesting TP call, knowing full well that V-Thug couldn't get there as fast as Lilia was, because Lilia was already there. She was the one starting the fight. He's going to go for a trade here, though.
He's going to try and go for a trade. He's going to get caught out, and he is just going to fall over. No healing from Dean was enough to save him. And now Boise State's got to be careful. Dean easily tower dive here. Manui, oh, he overplayed it. No tower aggro juggle. Everyone very low. Here comes Red Hots in. He's going to try and pick up a kill. Gets a shutdown. Can Remember get away. Nice root from Goblin over the wall. Blast cone to safety for Remember. Oh, just barely gets to the nice pushback onto Red Hots. E-Thug in pursuit, though. You've also got Ascent, so I don't think Remember is going to be in as good of a spot as he preferred, and it's also going to give the kill to E-Thug with the smokescreen damage. Probably should have just suicided there to Red Hots instead of running.
What was catastrophic for the side of Boise State ends up turning well in their favor because Wildcard Gaming overextended. They continue to try and dive. Dean gets up a fantastic elimination there, and then beyond that, the two overextending other members get punished as well.
Yeah, and it was a great job, unfortunately, by Remember. Thought he had a great, little I'm going to kite into tower drop combat, but the respawn timers are just so short that E-Thug's able to get back and pick up a kill that he probably shouldn't have. So a nice little, making use of the misplay by Wildcard Gaming gets E-Thug back in the game, because as we've seen, when he can be that threat, when he can get to that 3-1-1 that he could be right now, unfortunately, that might be 1-2-1. He's going to walk right into a death push, try and dash away to safety. Ascent's going to try and help him out as well, and here's my first concern. There is no damage on the side of Boise State when E-Thug's not in the fight. Ascent is just going to be turned into paper in relatively short order. Now Goblin's going to try and root Manu. He doesn't land in time. E-Thug runs the wrong way and right into Portia. He's going to walk right into his own death. That's a 2-for-0 for Wildcard Gaming. And the flaws of Boise State's draft might be rearing their head quite early in game number 3.
Very, very, almost microscopically thin lining there in terms of silver was the fact that Portia didn't get anything from that. They were able to leave the lane, no assists, they could get some XP, sure, but that gave it so only 5 CS now defer between Red Hots and Camille.
Yeah, unfortunately, Red Hots not able to push for any plates as he had backed as well. And you still just got to wonder where, E-Thug got burst low and there was no damage when Ascent was just trying to CC them. Hex flash over the wall by Yasin, but he doesn't want to engage. And a lot of pressure here for Boise State to find a lane that they make gankable for E-Thug so he can get back into this game. As you see his lane partner, if you will, Ghostly Cat sitting at 3-1-2.
Well, ideally, and this should have been, again, the criticism, we pick Renekton to kind of duo and make it a very easy gank path towards top lane. E-Thug didn't even entertain the idea of going top lane, even after going through horizontal jungling. And this amount of pressure by Ghostly Cat is the reason why. Look how much Ghostly Cat's been on the other side of the map. Fantastic 1v2 again. This is what they want to do. The Drowsy's going to come out. They're just going to sleep and BM a little bit. And he's going night-night either way.
Yeah, just waiting for Ghostly Cat's cooldowns to come back up so he can pick up that kill. 4-1-2 on that Lilia. Definitely something that was debated, as if it should be maybe taken away from Wildcard Gaming. Boise State opts not to do that. Red Hot's unfortunately going to walk right into his demise, just where E-Thug had died. He's going to use the ultimate. Might be able to get away. Yasin's trying to juggle tower aggro. They've got Portia pushing in, and Wild Seed's just going to pick him out.
No. That's a tough one. And we talked about this earlier, the draft kind of being a point of criticism. But to be fair, Maokai mid has the same CS as Syndra, and I mean I haven't seen the Ascent below 50% health this entire time, despite it being a damage responsibility for the side of Ethug. It's, I think, up to now Ascent to just get too tanky to get taken down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that it's probably his only hope, and then the question becomes again, it's how big of the meat shields, if you will, can Red Hot's Ascent, Goblin, and Dean turn into? Because that, if they make it, as you said, they can be unkillable. Ethug's just going to have so many big walls in front of him, he cannot die. But yeah, the CS is equal. The kill participation 5-1 definitely favors the side of Remember. Might explain why the CS is a little bit closer, as he's been rotating quite a bit. Should be an easy Rift Herald for Wildcard Gaming if they want to pick it up here. Looks like they'll just back off. We've also got a lane swap, something that they've been very fond of as well, which should open up things for Boise State in the bot lane, unless Portia can get some assistance here in soon order.
And that's the right macro play, right, Fish? When you have nothing on the map, the bottom side entire jungle is taken, you have Rift Herald up, you put your strongest lanes top lane, and unfortunately for Boise State, they don't have a strong enough lane to combat that right now, so they are going to get out-pressured out of the river here.
And I think the other thing for Wildcard Gaming is they look at that bot lane for Boise State and they say, do we care if Karma and a support Senna get any plays? And I think the answer is no, not really. I mean, there's not an AD carry that they're scared of getting hyperfed like something like a Kaisa. So I think that also plays in their decision. As we see, a plate does go on the side of Boise State. Yasin's going to blast him over the wall. Nice little interaction there. The Dreadflame lands, but Ethug's able to dash to safety. So Boise State's not going to lose anything, but at this point, Ethug really doesn't have a jungle he can call home.
And unfortunately, Red Hot does not have reinforcements here, and it's going to be a lot more dangerous here in the next couple of seconds.
Yeah, the Sleepy Lullaby is going to land. Red Hot is just sitting in the water. Ghostly Cat picks up a kill. Nice shutdown, though, for Ethug. Trying to keep Boise State in it. Ghostly Cat's going to run right into Ascent, who will root him, knock him towards Ethug. He's going to get a shutdown. That's a double kill for the Graves. But you have to wonder where they were. That could have been a potential kill on Yasin. You see Remembers at 20% mana as well. He's going to flash in for the Unstoppable Force. Ethug, nice dodge there on the Q. Yasin's going to be able to pick it up, and Boise State thought they'd be able to pick out Yasin. Ethug had disengaged. Ascent wanted to go, and that's just a communication breakdown for Boise State. Ascent picks it up in return, but a kill on the Maokai only means so much.
Yeah, he is going to continue to be a meat shield. Again, you saw how much they were not threatened maybe by the damage potential of this Maokai, but you can't leave Maokai alone for continued rotations, twisting advance, the smash, arcane. It's just going to do too much, and I think that was a nice play from Boise State. They did get a nice amount of shutdowns and get some very much needed money into Ethug's pocket. But again, as you'd mentioned, the almost disenergy between Ascent's commit and fantastic CC cost Ethug his life. He committed in a position where Syndra had 6 or 7 Qs down, and it was just too much damage for him to combat.
No, they had Yasin at low HP. They had Remember with basically enough mana just to maybe put down 1 extra Q in ult, and it was just enough to take down Ethug, even doing a nice job dodging one of the Qs to stay alive, but then Yasin went and finished him off. We see second Dragon of the game trending in the side of Wildcard Gaming. No steals able to come out from any member of Boise State. So now it is going to be another Cloud Soul on the map. This time, though, the Drakes do favor Wildcard Gaming 2-0. And it doesn't look like Boise State's in a position to find a pick here right now.
No, and not only is the goal deficit showing that things are going awry for Boise State, that Dragon count, and then if you look even further into the finer details, the CS count across the entire board is all Wildcard Gaming right now.
Yeah, that is something that I think Boise State has been able to kind of fall back on in matchups is, hey, you know what, we might over-aggress, we might, put ourselves behind, but we're going to CS to make the difference. We saw it against Wyoming, where even though Ascent was 2-4, he had 50 more CS than his lane opponent, and the gold was almost equal the whole time. And this time, as you pointed out, Baratel, there's no CS in any matchup that's close. Red Hot's is the closest, and he's still down 8. First tower is going to go to the side of Wildcard Gaming, and 13 minutes in, it's a 3K gold lead. Teleport is going to be committed here by Porsche. Is going to try and help out Remember, who has been rooted down. Red Hot's going to join in the fight as well. Syndra trying to get away. Will use the ultimate. Ethug's going to pick up the first kill. Yasin going to try and run away. He can't do it now. Ghostly Cat's caught in a very awful position, and Boise State should be able to pick up 3 max range auto attack from Dean. Will do the trick. It's a 3-0 for Boise State. And just like that, they claw their way back into this game.
I hate to be the kind of broken record, but that was off the back of this tanky tree. Ascent absorbed so many cooldowns, got 2 roots consistently, kept everyone there, and they're now able to follow up with another dive. 4-0 Boise State. They're starting to swing things in their favor here.
Yeah, they're doing a really great job. Unfortunately, Porsche's teleport could not get in time to save Remember. And I mean, you do have a point, Bertel. You are correct. Ascent has gotten to the point where he is becoming this bigger and bigger damage sponge. I feel like we've seen a funnel Ethug comp in the past that's worked really well with the Yuumi, and somewhere, as soon as Ethug goes down, we just kind of throw our hands up and say, all right, where's the damage? I think I'm still waiting for a team fight where Ascent might be taking a lot of damage, but just enough cleave lands onto Ethug where he goes down, and then it's like, hey, that's a really tanky tree. What good is it? What is it good for, though?
It's all about intention, right? And I think it's now we're going to break down to build paths. And I hate to be the kind of bearer of bad news, but Boise State, even with the gold that they have in leads, they're ineffectively not using their gold to a strong enough advantage. Gonna go here with the counter tank, though. Maybe look for a dive. A lot of damage will be given out to Lloyd, but it will be on 2. It is just Dean. So Ghostly Cat will get themselves out of danger. But to loop back onto my point real quick, Fish, you had seen so many damage or so much healing types from the last draft from Wildcard Gaming, yet Boise State only picked up 1 source of grievous wounds. The same thing can be said for this game. Look how much damage over time and repetitive magic damage that Wildcard Gaming has. Is there an item that can combat that? Absolutely. Force of Nature will shut down the 2 biggest carries on the side of Wildcard Gaming.
I think the Leandra Syndra is very interesting. She's the first champion, not a dot champion, so it is an interesting play style. You see Red Hot's going to get taken out there by the Coaling, the dredge line from Yasin, just barely able to get him to safety. And now Dean's got to be careful, because Manui with that Kraken Slayer can put out a ton of damage in a hurry. But yeah, I mean, I think a Force of Nature, I mean, I think there will be a point where Ascent is going to become basically unkillable. It's just a lot of pressure on Ethug to make the right plays in team fights, and it's a lot of pressure right now. This is the moment in the mid game where you can, if you can cycle picks, and Ethug goes from 5-4 to 8-4 in the next 3 minutes, he can just be so far ahead he's one-shotting people. And I think that is what Boise State needs to find, is these consistent picks where Ethug picks up a kill or 2.
And they're doing so much to try and get any sort of gold in their pocket. But I don't know if committing your jungler to bottom lane for tier 1 tower while you're losing tier 1 mid and top and also possibly Rift Herald is the right call.
I mean, I'm a big proponent of once tower plates fall, I mean, I understand Shelly can get a tower here or a tower there. I think Rift Herald loses a lot of value once there is not plates in the game. So I do think handing over this Rift Herald to 60 minutes, sure, they can drop it in any of the lane. They have tier 2 towers unlocked in top, mid, and bot. Sure, they can probably take down a lane while they're doing a dragon. But you don't get that extra gold. Boise State can just rotate over. Somebody just has to hit her in the back once. So I'm not too concerned if I'm a Boise State fan. What I'm more concerned about is how this next dragon fight goes. If Wildcard Gaming picks up this 3rd rank, 1 away from Seoul, they're going to even get more further ahead. It's a 2K gold lead right now. Can they catch out Yasin? They're going to land the Twisted Advance and the Smash Arcane back. Going to be a 2-man lullaby if Ghostly Cat decides to use it, but he will not. He's just going to let that Nautilus fall over, and it looks like Wildcard Gaming with this Dragon lead wants to disengage. Another great Twisted Advance. Here comes the lullaby. It's going to put them both to sleep. Going to buy him just enough time to get out. Nice stun there onto Portia. It looks like he is going to dash back to safety, try and re-engage. Coling's going to come out as well. Ascent incredibly tanky. They're going to try and absorb as much damage as he can, but he will finally be taken down. Goblin now trying to keep Red Hot's alive, who's in on the back line. Ascent takes down Remember. Goblin's going to try and redeem Red Hot to his death as he'll bring down Portia. And Boise State going to trade in a 3-4-2. So Nautilus has respawned.
Fantastic play by the side of both Ascent and Red Hot's. My biggest question mark here, and I would be spamming it, is why was Isak doing blue buff that entire time?
I mean, I know he maybe dropped low from the lullaby. He's going to try and find out Manui there. It just feels like we talked about it with Ascent, where Ascent wanted to go in and Ethug wanted to disengage. It just feels like there might be a differing of opinion for Boise State. We're going to see E-Thug going to get hit by the depth charge. They're going to be able to survive. Root lands onto Yasin, but he's too tanky. Ascent now in on the back lane. Going to be forced to flash over the wall. Yasin's very low if a sapling can find it. Dean's going to get the shutdown.
Done.
Here's the ult with the twisted advance. It's a double kill for Dean. It'll cost Ascent his life, and Boise State will pick up the Dragon as well. Only downside for Boise State is it is hard carry Senna here with the Eclipse, but it still supports Senna. Probably not the best location for the kills, but if it's not on E-Thug, it probably, I guess, should be on Dean.
I want to know how many souls the Senna's at, because again, there's always that break point, right, in which Senna then just becomes just impossible to interact with. The range just becomes too much to overcome, and I think Boise State needs to continue to stall out for that. Them making aggressive plays like that right before Dragon, that's the perfect way to do so. You not only can get the opportunity to get a pick, get some gold in your pocket, and then turn to Dragon, I guess a global objective, but you also give Senna so many souls as you continue fighting.
Yeah, and in Boise State, they have picked this comp in a way that, if E-Thug is with Ascent, somebody's going to get locked down and somebody's probably going to fall over. And they played that perfectly. I mean, as you mentioned, E-Thug did kind of back off and do blue buff, but Boise State still was able to pick up a pair of kills. And so, I mean, they're playing it perfectly. They've got to get picks, but I think if Wildcard Gaming figures that out and strictly team fights, they should start to pull ahead, especially with that utility of Ghostly Cat with the Lullaby. Just the sheer damage that Remember and Porsche can put out, and then Manui in the back line. Who's going to get to Manui as long as that front line remains alive is also going to be a great question.
Yeah, I mean, as you saw, this Nautilus couldn't really combat much. Once getting locked up by this Maokai, I think they were the first ones to retreat. And I think, again, opening up that front line, because it is really only this Nautilus, Camille looking for more of an assassin approach, I think that gives so much opportunity for Ascent to continue to get picks.
See a decent chunk of damage going to go on to Ghostly Cat. Colling's just going to
rip
Dean apart. Goblin gets knocked away and stunned. He wasn't even able to block it. Red Hot's going to teleport in. He's got a set in on the back line as well as E-Thug. Ghostly Cat's going to pick up one. Stopwatch is going to barely keep him alive. Ascent will pick up another kill. We do see the Rift Herald has been brought out as well. Ascent will fall. E-Thug is going to take down Porsche. There's too many remaining members, though, so he will start running. Slow from a member is probably going to cost him his life. It's a double kill for Manui. Boise State loses in a 4-for-2. And now it's up to Goblin to prevent they don't get aced and lose more of their base.
Yeah, and again, that's off the piggybacking of, I guess, just this Lucian deciding, hey, I would very much like to do damage now. And this is, again, something that we're trying to bring up in terms of praise and criticism. Look at the second item there in Lucian's bag. Serpent's Fang is a phenomenal tool when it comes to dealing with shielded champions. What do Senna and Karma do primarily? Shield champions.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it is interesting because, as you meant, you praise Manui, but I have to say at the same time, I think the reason this game is so close is, remember, his build is just. It thinks like maybe he thinks he locked in Brand or something. I mean, there's just no reason to have a Leandres on a Syndra. You are trying to one-shot someone, not burn them to death with the Leandres. I mean, we saw him build Ludens in the first game on Lux. I think a similar build on Syndra because, as you mentioned, they're basically the same champion. They have a high damage ult, little bit of utility in some of their other spells. It's very shocked to me that Remember went with a more burn build in a 100-0 champion. I think that's kind of kept Boise State in the game because Ascent didn't have to worry about being one-shot.
Well, it shows, right? Look at the scores between the two, 1-5-8 to 9-2-5. Somebody's doing something right, and someone's not doing something so well.
I mean, Wildcard Gaming, all the same, still in the gold lead. Kill lead slightly favoring Boise State. They can get a pick on it to Manui if anyone can get into that back line. That'd be a nice 700 gold shutdown as well for the Broncos. Only objective up is Baron. With a comp like this and with a Senna, your objective damage is going to be incredibly low, but they're still going to try and pull it off anyway.
They see Syndra. They did not know he was there, but Syndra now has to run full speed here.
Yeah, it's going to be a rotation, but you can just see how slow this Baron is dying. Syndra has already got to the mid lane all the way from bot, and Baron's just now reaching 50%. Graves is going to have an easy time winning a smite battle. Boise State wants to engage. Red Hot's going to ult, get some healing. It's the first kill for E-Thug. Yasin's going to be the next target. It's a double kill for the Graves. They're going to get a 3-man sleep from Ghostly Cat to buy them some space. Goblin's going to flash forward, land the root. Remember picks up one, but E-Thug's going to make it a triple kill for him, and he's got Remember in his sights. He has flashed over the wall, though, and he has gotten to safety. Porsche trying to do the same. Remember, dropping low. Speed up there from Goblin. Porsche going to get stunned out. There's that twisted advance CC. You're never getting away from a Maokai. Ethug should be able to pretty easily pick up his 4th kill of this. He will. He's on a rampage, and Boise State can set their eyes on Baron once again. What a great fight for Boise State.
Yeah, and it's all because they forced Wildcard Gaming into a state of almost near panic. They sent Syndra full sprint from bottom, barely get there in time, and then what does Boise State do? They immediately peel off the Baron and pull the fight trigger.
The only problem for Boise State is chasing down Porsche took so long that Yasin and Manui are back and in position, and once again Baron's health is only 50%. Boise State has no way to clear that ward in the pit. So Wildcard Gaming is going to get a full scouting of what's going on, and they're going to jump right in. Ultas come out from Maokai. Ascent's going to twist it in advance, get the Arcane Smash onto Remember, but he's going to get a shutdown and trade 1-for-1. There's no more Ethug alive. Boise State's going to get a flash over the wall from Dean. Yasin will get rooted. He will fall as well. Boise State wins 2-for-1, but they lose the ability to take Baron, and that can come back and haunt them.
Yeah, and again, it's these tiny things that are separating these fights from being dominating victories or almost near defeats. If instead Ethug goes for Syndra, the only source of damage he can't compete with, Quick Draw gives a ton of armor. Lucian was not doing damage to him at that point. If instead he focused Syndra with the rest of his team, I think they might have eked out a win.
Do you see the 3rd Dragon of the game picked up for Wildcard Gaming? Going to put themselves on Soul Point. A couple of pings came out towards Baron. Maybe worried Boise State would try and sneak it under them once again, but the Boise State Baron damage so incredibly low without Ethug that they just had to back off. You see Ethug has the Collector now, going to try and pick up and execute onto someone like a Manui or a Remember. But we talked about it. This is, if anyone could do it, it could be Ethug, but this comp requires near perfect play from the funnel. And there's just so much damage on the side of Wildcard Gaming as Maokai is going to go in. 2-man Lullaby is available for Ghost Cap, and he's going to hold onto it. Manui's going to pick up the 1st kill. There's a 2-man sleep. Going to land onto Etha. Great job by Ascent, though, peeling for his team. Boise State's trying to burn this tower down to help out Maokai. He will fall. The tower will live. And Boise State goes 2-for-0.
2-for-0, and it kind of is... Oh, goodness. Here comes the rotation.
Tech Ultimatum does land on the Dean. That should spell his demise. Ethug going to try and do as much damage as he can with the collateral damage. He's going to be forced to run away. Nice shield from Goblin. This is going to be an ace, though, for Wildcard Gaming. And that should be a very easy Baron and potentially a mid-inhibitor if Porsche wants to push without the team.
Yeah, Ravenous Hydra is why Lily is going for the camps right now. Good idea, because Baron still does a tremendous amount of damage to you. And getting this double burn will mean that Baron is not long for this world. But you have to question, again, Boise State's it has so many shining moments when they commit, they're all on the same page, everything clicks, and it's just a dominant performance. And you have moments like that where half of them are diving the tower, half of them are going for tower, and they don't get anything for it.
I think it was a really great job by Ascent to try and dash in, try and just cause as much chaos as he can to distract Wildcard Gaming, but that would be a case where if Boise State just burned that tower first and then operated that game plan, they probably could have come away with that with a couple of kills. But unfortunately, not only were Red Hots and Ascent's deaths in vain as the rest of the team got caught, they didn't have anything for it because they didn't even get that tower. It's still, it's one shot, yes, but it's still alive.
Yeah, and that means that now Boise State has to continue to put pressure on this midpoint. And it's despite it being 1 health, this is forcing Boise State to play in a very overextended pattern. Look how much vision they don't have towards their bottom side jungle. And again, to remind you, they don't have any of their tier 1 or tier 2 towers up.
And Boise State losing the turret battle 4-1. Their only turret is in the bot side, where Wildcard Gaming has the bot tier 1 turret and the tier 2 at incredibly low. There's still a path to victory for Boise State. As you mentioned, we see
100%.
It crop up from time to time. It's a fight that revolves around Red Hot's doing as much damage as he can before he most likely gets taken out. Ascent just being that annoying root bot, and then Ethug just absolutely ripping health bars apart. They have to make sure they're all on the same page because, as you mentioned, we're about 30 minutes in, and there's been 3 or 4 times where we've seen Boise State where it feels like some people want to engage, some people want to disengage. Red Hots, though, he wants to engage. Going to land the stun onto Manui. Going to try and now disengage, get some healing from Dean. Should be able to make it out alive. He'll use his ultimate and not going to get anything in return from Wildcard Gaming.
Getting the depth charge is huge here, though, because that means that Boise State does not have the option to worry about again. Hextech Ultimatum, another single target ability going to be given out. TP is going to be unstoppable here, so Sense got to back up his teammate right now.
Red Hot's going to go in. They're going to land the stun on the Porsche. The rest of Wildcard Gaming is rotating over. You can see the shields across the board right now for Boise State. Unfortunately, Ascent's going to be the first one to go down, and there's no more disruption. Ult from Dean's going to come out. The culling used as well. That's a double kill for Manu. He can't make it 3. Goblin will go down. It's a triple kill for the Lucian, and the Boise State base is open and ready for the taking.
Yeah, this is going to be tough unless we see another miracle play, both from Dean and Red Hots. This could certainly be the game for Wild Gaming.
We saw it last time in game 1. This similar spot, a triple kill from E-Thug turned the game around. Does Boise State have them in them? It doesn't look like it. The Nexus, the only thing remaining between an 0-1 start for Boise State. It's a 3-man route for Dean, but there's just not enough damage. And Wildcard Gaming going to complete the reverse sweep here. They will take game number 3. They will move to 1-0 in the Baron division of the Upsurge League. Boise State will fall to 0-1, but a very, very close fought game regardless. And the Broncos oh so close to winning. Just a couple of miscommunications, a couple of misplays, and that allows Wildcard Gaming for their 30-minute victory in game number 3.
Yeah, a tremendous performance again from both teams. It just seemed that when it came to initiating a plan, that Wildcard Gaming was more consistent on full committing. It might not be the best call, but at the end of the day, you can say, I committed to that call.
Yeah, Boise State, couple of things to work on, but still, I mean, a little bit different. You're no longer facing top collegiate teams. You're facing an amateur team. The differences between those, you know, there are some remarkable differences. You know, a semester just started.
Very large.
A semester just started for 5 players in that game. Now, I don't know if Wildcard Gaming has players in school, but they're not on a collegiate team. So there are a little bit of, you know, different priorities for some of the players. Still a well-fought victory for Wildcard Gaming, and that's going to be what Boise State has to face. We've seen the Baron division. There's a good mix of collegiate teams and amateur teams. And those amateur teams, you know, as Jolly mentioned, all of these players are already master or grandmaster into the new season. This isn't their old rankings. This is master or grandmaster. E-Thug is master. The rest of Boise State is floating in diamond. So they just, you know, you could even just say have not had enough time in this season to push to where their rankings should be. But we'll get our Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Would have to think if it's for Boise State that it would going to be on to E-Thug because he basically carried game number 1 and did all he could in game number 3 to keep Boise State in it.
I would vote for Ascent if game 2 didn't happen.
Yeah, game 2, unfortunately, just was not in Boise State's favor. So we'll see who the player of the game is. And there it is. It is going to be E-Thug. And I mean, why not? This would have been an 0-2 for Boise State had he not pulled out one of the greatest plays we've seen for Boise State esports, the triple kill while his Nexus is under attack.
Yeah, I mean, that was what saved them the game. If that didn't happen, the game could have been over at game 2.
So, huge congratulations to E-Thug. He is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Idaho Central Credit Union, who is a great player, makes the team more successful, just like they're helping their members achieve financial success. We take a look at some of the replays from this 3-game series, and it was E-Thug on the Kindred and E-Thug on the Graves, where he just put in a tremendous amount of work. And as we've seen from last semester, where E-Thug pops off, Boise State is usually to follow.
Is leading the charge here on this Pony Brigade, and rightfully so, because they figured out what's worked for them so far, and it's going to continue to roll, gain steam and roll downhill with the quickness, and it's just a matter of time because, you know, something that people sometimes don't understand about Boise State University's esports program is that when we lose, we almost 99.9% get stronger because of it.
Yeah, Boise State, you know, their motto is to the ability to adapt and be able to adjust to what just happened to them. And any good coach will tell you that sometimes you will always learn more from a loss than a win. And sometimes a loss in the right situations can be more beneficial than a win. And so Boise State, as you mentioned, Baratel, probably going to learn from this one, figure out what they need to do better. Is they won game 1. They were just 1 win away. Unfortunately, a couple of comps that just did not work out here. As we see in the replays, there's a couple of bright moments, especially for players like E-Thug, especially for Ascent in that game number 3 as well. Just not enough put together in those games. So big congratulations to Wildcard Gaming, who will end up as the victors here. But Boise State, definitely a long way to go in this Baron division. I would not expect Boise State to drop that many more games against the rest of the competition, though.
Yeah, so it's a pretty stacked lineup. I've known some of these teams and players from some other experience I had with Cassian, and Boise State's going to be a phenomenal challenge for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, Boise State, as you mentioned, they usually adapt well. And, that's the other thing. They've got a lot of things going on. They've got the CeeLo, which we saw them take down Wyoming. They've also got Upsurge, so it just limits the amount of time they'll have to scout each and every team. But still, a 1-1 day overall for Boise State. A 3-3 overall game record. Not too shabby for your first action of 2021. Well, that's going to wrap things up for here today. It has been a long one in this League of Legends doubleheader, but it has been a ton of fun. For Baratel, Glovely, and Jolly, a big shout out to you guys coaching us through. Big shout out to production as well, making us all look and sound good. But we will leave you with that. And until next time, have a great evening.
We're only predicting things, though, of course. This is going to be Boise State versus Wyoming. We're going to throw it to the ones covering the action. Fish.
Try to pull these guys forward, and there it is.
Yeah, we even saw the blue-pink come out. They knew they were there, but it still did not matter. Stopwatch has come out. Ethug's going to pick up one. Unfortunately, Remember's going to make sure Boise State remembers his name. It's a triple kill for him. It's an ace for Wildcard Gaming, and that should... Out Ethug going to be just annihilated. Charm's going to land right into a stun onto Dean, into a root. The CC layering was perfect for Wildcard Gaming. There's not a whole lot Boise State could do. Red Hot's the last remaining hope. Going to try and 1v1 down Remember into the death realm. Stopwatch going to come out, and as soon as it fades, it is an 8.
Maybe making up what they want from that. Ethug, though. Gonna go in hard.
Hey, Ethug's going to pick up a double kill for himself. Goblin gets the third one. Yasin forced a flash away. Probably not the Greg Assault you wanted, as it's going to mean that is a dead thrash. And Boise State now sitting at 40 seconds in a 1-on-5. And it looks like Portia's already given up. That he's right here. Taunt's not going to land. Goblin's going to dash in. Ethug's there, so is Red Hot as well. Ghostly Cat's going to pick up the first kill. Hero's Entrance going to be used to disrupt the team fight. Boise State gets one back. Manui dropping low, does not get enough healing from the Q. Ghostly Cat trying to find Ethug, not going to be the case. Boise State goes 3 for 1. Come out. And unfortunately, Sen's going to get picked off. There it is, the 4-man lullaby. Boom goes the laser. Ethug's going to keep them both alive, but for how long? Healy's going to go out, 1 kill down. Boise State's going to trade 1 for 1 as Goblin is on a rampage, forced to flash away. But Inui get there in time. No, he cannot. Red Hot's doing as much healing as he can.